All right, hello everyone. This is podcast number 7 for WTS and AG Supercars.
And FLATOUT investments.
I want to introduce my guest today. His name is John McDonald. John is well, we can call him a Viper guy as of right now, but he's definitely not just a Viper guy. He's a car guy as well. And we're going to be talking about a couple different cool subjects that have to do with the Viper world, with what's going on with COVID-19 and how that's affected the entire automotive industry, and a couple of other really cool topics that we're going to cover as well. So, John, without further ado, you got the mic, man. It's yours.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast. This is a great opportunity, and I definitely appreciate it. Any chance I get to talk with car people and the community, I definitely love jumping on that because it is my favorite subject. So a little background on myself. I'm an engineer by trade. I've been in that field for about 13 years now, but my true passion has always been cars. I've been working on cars basically my entire life, and it's been a huge part of my life, and I absolutely could not imagine my life without cars in them.
Spoken like a true diehard car guy. That's pretty awesome, John. Yeah, we had a conversation obviously before the podcast, and I got to kind of get to know John. And when he said he was a mechanical engineer, I'm like, yeah, that pretty much goes usually hand in hand as far as most people that get into that industry. Usually, I'd say probably 70% of the time, they're going to have a fascination and a passion for cars, because obviously I think that we can all agree that the automobile has been, I don't know, I'd say at least in the hundred. There's so many thousands of amazing inventions that mankind has come up with, but the automotive machine, is just that one that really, I mean, if you look at the history of when they first began, which is really not that long ago, it was 110, I think 115 years. It's just the evolution of where from that first car to what we have today, to the pinnacle of hypercars, especially now with the hypercar battle, with different manufacturers getting ramped up to 100 million. I think it's up there with the Saturn V rocket. I mean, I know it's not that much of a crazy achievement, but I think the automobile it's just absolutely amazing. And obviously, someone that studies engineering, they look at that, and it would be very difficult for them not to appreciate it. So,
Oh, for sure. You mentioned the Saturn V, and I'm sure the Saturn V is massive. It's amazing, but from a technological standpoint, there is more computing power in your smartphone today than
yes,
there was on that Saturn V rocket. So from a technology standpoint, where we're at now with the hypercars and even your basic cars, it's light years ahead, and it's mind blowing how fast technology has changed in such a short amount of time. It's
yeah,
truly been exponential.
yep. That would be. I think that's what we're talking about is Moore's law, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And there's been a couple of articles. There's been a lot of really cool stuff that I've been watching about Moore's law. A lot of people are starting to say that, oh, we're getting to the top of Moore's law, and there could be actually a peak. There's a lot of other smart people that are saying, no, 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 we're just beginning. This is not stopping. We're still going. And like you said, and like most people know today, it's just the rapid. I mean, just you can't even keep up with. I mean, just trying to keep up with a smartphone, right? As far
Yep.
as when we talk about smartphones, you can't even. I mean, the whatever. It doesn't matter if it's an Apple or an Android. The newest phone comes out, and within 3 months now, it used to be 6 months to a year. Now it's 3 or 4 months. That's it. The newer and better has a better camera, better software. Well, obviously, software is part of things that get updated, but just like what you said, the technical aspect of certain, even your common, your Corolla, Toyota Corolla, is still, if you compare it to 20, 30-year-old technology, it's leap forwards.
Yep.
So it's absolutely amazing. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and cover the first, this awesome question or topic that you came up with, which is, so the impacts to the 2020 car season and the community due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I think that's a fantastic, obviously something that's very relevant of what we're all going through, and it's a great topic. So we'll kind of jump right into that. Um, how about let's get your take on it, John, and then I'll kind of give you my take on it, and we'll kind of bounce some ideas back and forth.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm, of course, when all this stuff started happening with the pandemic and the shelter in place, not only here in the States, but at a global scale, we started seeing changes right off the bat.
Yeah.
Literally the week that the shelter in place was issued in California, that following weekend, I was supposed to go down to Vegas for a huge car event, Mopars and muscle cars at the Strip.
Okay.
And that got canceled like 2 days
Right away.
before I was supposed to go down.
Right.
And so that was like the first hit to the car season for from me at a personal standpoint. And a couple weeks before the shelter in place had happened, when the concern started raising up, there was another event that I was keeping an eye on that was the same weekend called Springfest. And that is a big car show down in the LA area. And it's for the LX/LY platform for Chrysler. So it's your Dodge Challenger, your Dodge Charger, your Magnums, your 300s. And this was going to be their 15th year.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was like 2 weeks before the shutdown for the state, they decided that they were going to go ahead and postpone and reschedule. And then sure enough, a couple weeks later, everything got shut down.
Right.
And so it's been a huge ripple effect. And being that it was the start of car season, there wasn't a huge amount of impacts initially, but as this has been going on, things have definitely progressed a lot more, and we've seen more and more events getting canceled further and further out in the calendar. The biggest hit that I've seen recently was Monterey Car Week.
Yeah.
And
I think Pebble Beach as well, right? And
yes, exactly. Yeah. Pebble was the first one. Well, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. So Car Week is one of my favorite events to go to, and because there's just such a diverse amount of cars at all of these events throughout the week. Right. And if you're not, for those who are listening that aren't aware of what Car Week is, it's held in Monterey, and it's this 1 week in August, and it's a series of events throughout the entire week that leads up to the Pebble Beach Concourse on the Sunday of that week.
Right.
And it's absolutely an insane event. And it's, like I said, it's a whole week long. There are events all over the area. There are multiple auction houses running. They've got Laguna Seca going with historic races. And you've got huge events like McCall's Motorwork Revival and the Quail Motorsports Revival. And these events get huge manufacturers like Koenigsegg has a huge display, Bugatti, Pagani. I mean, all these names of all these insane manufacturers, they're all out for Monterey Car Week. And
I had no idea about Koenigsegg. I thought that's amazing.
Yeah, so like last year at the Quail, Koenigsegg had a huge display, and there were, I'm not joking, more than a dozen Koenigsegg's on display, including the new Jesko.
Yeah, the Jet. Yeah. I got to see that the launch of that car here in Florida, which was amazing. I believe they started the tour here in Florida when it came to the States. It kind of sweeps from east to west. So yeah, that car's fucking ridiculous.
Right? It is next level.
That car. I got to meet actually. Just a little note. I got to meet Krister, very cool guy. He's the actual. I believe he's one of the managers that was touring with the car. He's one of the main people that is entrusted with the car to go touring around because they were touring around the whole world.
Right.
Krister's very cool. I got to meet him. I'm going to invite him onto the podcast, but he's very busy, so I'm going to try to get him on here. And yeah, he's a very cool guy. We talked a lot about the technical aspects of the car. Mm-hmm. I had to ask him about, because obviously I had been following the Agera RS that broke the record at they shut down I think it was Route 66 a year ago with this maroon colored Agera RS, and they had that car there. That car broke, I want to say it's 274.22. It was basically 274 to 275 miles per hour on the road, on the street, which was awesome. And so I had to ask him. I said, hey, so we all know that this is the car that's supposed to break the 300. It's going after Bugatti. They want to break that 300 mile per hour top speed. And he kind of smirked. He said, well, let's just say that obviously with the spoiler that's sitting on the car right now, it would be challenging to get up to that. But the second that thing comes off, it's, all bets are off. So I was like, oh shit. So that's pretty awesome. And the car's, I mean, it's, I've been following Koenigsegg for, I remember when they first came on the scene, when they got announced or they showed off the car, the first, one of the first models, I believe it was the CCX on Top Gear.
Yeah.
And when I saw the car, it had that same thing that you get from Pagani. You looked at it, you're like, holy shit. They managed to do what is a very difficult thing, which is actually make something that when you look at it, it's not a supercar, it's in the hypercar league, but you also know that just looking at it, there's nothing else out there, right? The shape of it, the entire shape of how the window wraps around, obviously the doors that we all know now, the Hector-Seeg. Oh, fuck, I'm gonna fuck up that name. It's the I'd have to look it up because I don't want to say it wrong. But obviously the doors, the spring arm that the doors have that are extremely unique just to that car. Just things like that make it so special that Christian von Koenigsegg just has made it it's an absolutely amazing car. And every car since the CCX, then they had the CCXR, then they finally came up with the Agera. It pushes the boundaries of horsepower, of torque, of technology. Obviously, now he came up with that camless engine, which maybe we can, talk about a little bit later. But sorry, John, I completely derailed you. I'm sorry. Go ahead and keep on going to where we were discussing Laguna, that you were saying that they have this Koenigsegg, obviously in Pagani, they show up to this Carvet, obviously to show off their latest cars.
Yeah, and so Car Week is just you see stuff there you don't see anywhere else, and it's amazing, both vintage and new. And up through even April 11th, Gordon McCall made a post that they're still working towards having Car Week. And then like the following week, Governor Gavin Newsom came out and was basically said, we're not going to have any large gatherings for the foreseeable future. Yeah. And we're like, all right, well, they're still in discussions for Car Week. It could still possibly happen. Well, then it was the end of 2 days after Newsom had made that announcement, the first real domino fell, and that was Pebble Beach Concourse. And They came out and said that basically they ended up they're canceling 20 and 20, going to look forward to 2021. And the reason why they made that decision was because this is such a huge event globally, that it was getting to the point of no return for certain people getting ready to ship their cars out to California from overseas. Yeah, and so they had to make a decision now to cancel, because the cost incurred by shipping some of these cars out is just astronomical.
A lot of money, yeah.
And so once they canceled, then it was a domino effect. One event after another was making the announcements that they too were canceling for 2020, which was super unfortunate. I understand why. I respect the decision, but it was just super unfortunate because myself and a lot of other people I know were looking towards Car Week as the big celebration for coming out of this pandemic. Right? We figured by August, it's enough time for things to calm down. It's a huge celebration. It's a big, awesome automotive series of events. This is going to be a great way to celebrate the end of the pandemic. And then it just vanished overnight. It
just disappeared.
Yep. And that was just super unfortunate because, so last year I had my Dodge Viper on display at the Quail for their event during Car Week, which was a huge honor.
That's amazing.
It was absolutely a blast. I mean, it was put in the supercar class, and so I was in with cars from the same vintage would be different Lamborghinis and Ferraris from the day up to there was a Senna, a couple of 918s. There was just some amazing cars in the class that I was with, and people loved seeing the Viper as well as these other cars, which was really, really cool. And so this year, I had been accepted to have the Viper on display for McCall at their event at the Monterey Jet Center, which is one of the big kickoff events for Car Week. Right. So it was definitely disappointing when the announcement came that event was also being canceled. Luckily, events like the Quail and McCall and Pebble, if you already had tickets, you have the option to roll them over to the 2021 event. So 2021, the Viper is going to be on display at McCall. I'm going to be back at the Quail. Just a bit disappointing to not be able to go this year.
This year, right. And let me ask you a quick question about the event. So when you were there with your Viper, you said that it was kind of put in that same era of different Lamborghinis and different, obviously different cars that would be in that same year. Are we talking? Was there anything special? I mean, obviously, I'm sure there was a couple of Diablos, but was there anything really rare, like a Diablo SC or maybe a Diablo GTR or anything really rare?
There was a probably the rarest in there was a Bugatti EB110.
Oh, nice. Yeah, those are awesome. Those are cool. Those are a lot of fun to. There's actually one here. There's a very cool company out here in Miami. They actually, I believe, was that the same? What color was that car? Silver?
That one, I think I'd have to go back. I might have been white. There were a lot. There were 3 of them in town for Monterey Car Week. I'm trying to remember which one was at the Quail. But yeah, it was a sight to see.
Was that your first time seeing one?
That was no. I'd seen one once before. It's the first time I'd seen that many.
Right.
There were 2 of them on display. I just pulled up a picture. There was a silver one and a yellow one.
Okay. So the silver one, that same car, that's the car that's here in Miami now.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I know the owner that purchased it, and he purchased it to resell, but he's had it in his place for a while, and I actually walked in. I didn't even know he had purchased it, and when I asked him about it, I'm like, holy shit, when'd you get an EB10? Like, what the fuck? Like, what? Thanks for calling me and telling me. He's like, hey, man, I've been really busy buying fucking EB10s. I'm like, yeah, I see that. And so we had a conversation. I just asked him, what is it? Where did you get it? He said he got a really good deal on it. There's a little bit of like some drama, which is funny because you had mentioned that was actually one of your. I don't think it was the same type of question you were talking about, the topic, but there was a little bit of bullshit drama where they had an issue where the owner they were buying the car or had bought the car from was not very truthful in some of the history of the car.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it turns out there was a couple of complications where there was a certain tech that was working on the car, and he didn't want to give up some. I don't know, I might fuck this up so bad, but from what I remember, because this was almost a year ago, from what he told me was that the owner and the people that were actually working on the car to do certain maintenance, like just simple maintenance, they had not disclosed some information about the history, not crazy stuff. It's not like the car had frame damage or anything like that, but just stupid stuff that was actually complicating the person who was going to purchase it from him, because he, again, was, he had purchased it to try to make a bit of a profit. And he's got a couple, I don't want to mention too many names, but he's got a very interesting, very specific target clients that come to him for certain cars. And in his showroom, actually, he's got some really, the reason I was mentioning Diablos as well, it's crazy. I've never seen more manual Diablos, Murcielagos, and I mean Countachs. Obviously, the Countach was a manual, but I'm just saying I've never seen so many different not even call the Diablo vintage, but the Countach obviously is a vintage Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And he's even had a couple Muras as well. He had a red Mura, so he's got like a very strong people here in Miami. If they want a Mura, Diablo, Murcielago, and they want a gated Diablo or Murcielago, they're going to him. Or excuse me, not Diablos, Murcielagos, because I've never seen so many gated Murcielagos, and he even had a Targa gated Murcielago, which was, I believe, less than 15 of those were brought into the U.S. Wow. Super rare. Yeah. So when he got that, and he also, which was ridiculous, he also at the same time, because I was looking in the showroom and. I'm walking around, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see this one car, and I'm like, "Holy fuck, no way! I don't think that is." And I just saw the brake light, and I'm like, "Please don't tell me that's." And I knew it. I knew what it was. I've never seen this car ever, and I've seen a McLaren F1. So you could, I mean, that's that kind of a '95 McLaren F1. Mm-hmm. He purchased a Vector.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So that was a purple Vector, sick car. I mean, it's just seeing the car in person. Is one seeing it in pictures and seeing a video is one thing, but when you see that car in person, man, It
Oh yeah,
it's
it's
awesome.
next level.
Yeah.
Did he
Yeah.
buy that at Car Week last year? Because there was, I believe, a purple Vector at one of the auction houses.
Yeah, that was probably the same car. That's probably the same guy he has to be the same car because it was at the same time that he got the EV10 at that
Okay.
EV110.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was the same auction that had a record sale for a McLaren F1, went for like $19 million or something
Yes,
ridiculous.
the dark silver, the super
Yes.
rare color with the super rare interior. Yes, that car was
Yep.
amazing. Yeah, yeah, that car had that car had the package. It had it didn't have the full. So McLaren, when the McLaren F1 first came out, they had a program with McLaren where if you wanted to spend enough money, which I believe it was more than $250,000 on top of the price of the car,
Hmm.
they would convert your regular normal F1 into an LM package car,
Wow.
um, which was it was they had different options. There was only I think there's only two in the world, or maybe three in total, that got the full F1 LM conversion, which
Yeah.
was ridiculous because they only made five LM, chassis, stamped chassis cars. There was only five in the entire world, so they added these two to three cars on top of those, but they still count as a conversion, but they did get stamped with the chassis of LM because they literally got the full LM kit. This car did not have the full LM kit. I think it was the wheels, the Ozzy, beautiful, gorgeous LM wheels.
Hmm.
I think it had the exhaust, and I think that's where the conversion stopped because the full conversion would have done the weight reduction that the LM has. It would have done, I believe, the LM has another 40 to 50 horsepower.
Hmm.
Because again, that car was, I mean, it was stamped as LM. I mean, it went racing, at Le Mans, which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Yeah, that car was amazing, 19 million. But that's actually pretty cheap compared to some of the other cars
No
that
kidding.
were. Yeah, man, the F1. Actually, I had an F1 for sale last year as well. That was presented to me. The car was in South. Actually, I shouldn't say where the car was. I'm gonna I have to stop myself on that. I'm not supposed to disclose the information. Let's just say it was south of Europe. That kind of gives you a good clue.
Hmm.
Um, and the car was being sold. It was given to me for 22. It was 22.5. So
Okay.
22,500,000.
Yep.
And that was actually pretty high. But the thing with this car was the mileage. It had less than 17,000 original miles.
Wow.
Yeah. But the car that you're talking about, the one that sold, was that what auction was that, John?
The auction was,
Was
is it
that
the,
Mecum?
it was it's the
I can't
RM
remember.
Solbees.
Oh, that's right. That's Sotheby's. That's right. So yeah, RM. That's right. So RM, yes. That when they purchased, excuse me, when they announced the price for that, what it did, because I started trying to feel out who can actually purchase this car. Obviously, there's not too many
Sure.
people that I had in my list that could dish out 22 million plus. But I contacted two people that could have, and they both told me the same thing. They both mentioned the RM car, and they're like, "Hey, look, this car had actually it was a much rarer color, a much more rare interior, and it had basically a portion of the LM conversion, and that
Yeah.
car went for 19 million. You're asking another 2 million, almost 2 million and a half, for a car that does not have the conversion, has actually more mileage. So what's going on here?
Hmm.
And the reason for that, I believe, was the ownership. It only had one owner. So that this owner had it since it had been purchased at McLaren. So that
Wow.
was the whole thing that they were trying to get another 2 million. Is that really worth it? Well, it depends. If you're in that buying scene, if you're in the McLaren F1 buying scene right now, or that sector, people are pretty picky about that. They don't want to see, which is ridiculous. It's like, who fucking cares how many people own the car? You know?
Exactly.
Who gives a shit? But that's one of those things. It's one of those things that these people, these these McLaren F1 owners, have decided that they will put a certain amount of price on top of whatever other cars out there just because, oh well, mine only has one owner. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's pretty amazing. So you got to see, so the Vector, yeah, so that purple Vector is the same car.
Okay.
Got to see the car in person, great car, and it's very strange because that was a car I remember when I was growing up. I was very, I was really young when I first started trying to indulge myself in all the technical information. You know, the Vector came out. I still have the magazine. It was called Hot Cars. It was a really cool book that had pretty, and it actually had your well, not your first generation Viper, but it had the first generation Viper. It had every single car from the 90s, and obviously the Vector was. I mean, when you saw the pictures of it, it was like, whoa! Like it if you look at it, it almost, if you just talking about, since we were talking about Koenigsegg, the window design. I'm not saying Koenigsegg in any way, shape, or form took the design cues from the Vector, but it has that wraparound window that just wraps all the way around, which gives it that very super unique look that, I mean, you can't compare any other car to. So
Yeah, it's truly a unique car, and that one in that purple was just, I mean, it was stunning.
yeah,
Absolutely
it's
stunning.
a good looking car. It's a very cool looking car. And again, in person, all these cars, it doesn't matter, even your car, a Viper. There's a certain, and it's funny how we still, even with the way videos are being shot on or for YouTube with 4K, there's something about the way, and I think that's a big argument with people today is the difference between a sports car, high performance car, supercar, and hypercar. There's a certain way that the car makes you feel when you're there in person.
Yep.
And that's not something, it doesn't matter who you're watching. If you're watching Jeremy Clarkson or the team at Top Gear doing all the amazing things that they used to do, or you're watching some of the YouTubers today, like the Stradman and all the other people, you know, the very famous YouTubers out there that are there, you know, that are doing, you know, what we all want to be doing. And it's just in video, there's just something about it that, and I learned this the hard way because I grew up watching all these videos and all these, I mean, every single Top Gear you think of. And I remember when the 458 Ferrari first was announced, and I'm like, holy shit, finally Ferrari's getting their shit together, and they're finally going to go back to their roots and make a gorgeous, beautiful, sexy car.
Mm-hmm.
Which they had taken their time with, because I mean, arguably, I think you would say that from the time that the 355 came out, which was, I think that was one of almost everybody's favorite, just how pretty and how beautiful it was. You know, then you had the 360, which I can't stand that car. I don't know how you feel about the car, but I never really, the car, you looked at it and you're like, what? That's Ferrari? Seriously? It was so generic. I didn't like it. I didn't like what they did with that car. Then the 430 came out. They kind of went back where they were trying to go back and start to make the car look a little more, you know, a little more unique, a little more, I think a bit more aggressive with the intakes that it had on the sides and a little sharper. But then finally with the 458, man, they nailed it. And obviously that the entire design cues that came from the 458, they've all trickled down to every single car from then forward. So
Absolutely. And the 458 was a revolutionary design.
oh yeah,
For me,
oh yeah,
personally, I love the 430, especially the Scuderia, but the 458 did so much for the brand.
yeah.
It was the first V8 mid-engine car for them that went to the dual clutch transmission.
Yep.
Before that, it was all the F1 gearbox, and so the 458 you could actually, if you really wanted to use it as a daily driver, you could without too much effort because that dual clutch transmission was brilliant. And it's the last naturally aspirated V8. It revs to 9,000 RPM.
Yeah.
It is just an amazing machine. It's so brilliant. It's so elegant. The design is just mind-blowing awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they really, that's a car that, and even watching every single Top Gear, Fifth Gear, even watching Chris Harris drive, it didn't matter until the day that I stepped forward. You know, I got to see the car, I got to sit inside of it, I got to turn the ignition. Well, actually, turn the ignition, press the start button, and just hear that engine. That 4.5 liter V8 is just sick, and like you said, it revs to 9 grand. It's so raw. And what I loved about it was, have you, by any chance, John, have you driven one?
I have.
Oh my God! So you know what I'm going to say next. The steering on that thing, the steering rack that the thing had, lock to lock. I mean, you breathe on the steering wheel, and you're just banking right or left as if you were in a GT3 car. It feels so sharp. And to put that car, I mean, I've, you know, most cars, the second I get in them, the first thing I want to do is, do a Scandinavian flick, get it sideways, and feel what the car feels like drifting it. And that's a really good sense to, that's a good technique to try to get a really good sense of what the car does dynamically. And holy shit, that thing is just, I mean, you could do that at 140 plus with no problems.
Yep.
And Jason Plato said the same thing from Fifth Gear. He actually, when they were pushing the car at the, I forgot what the track, but their track that they used to test all their cars in, John, he had that car, he was coming in at one of the pretty hot turns. I forgot what it was, a corner that they usually come in at 120. At 100, he was coming in at 140. He slightly, the car just, the ascent of the car just came out a little bit. He caught it right in time. He just countersteered just a tiny little bit to get it, just get it in that controlled slide. He could not believe how easy it was. Obviously, for someone that knows what they're doing, but he couldn't believe how amazingly easy it was to do that at 140 miles per hour. So it's a testament to Ferrari. I really salute them for making that car, because it just, and again, all the design cues of that car, they all went to the FF, the 458, the FF, the 48, the F12, now the the F12, the 812 Superfast. It's just like you said, it put Ferrari on it, and they needed that car. They really needed this thing, yeah, because their sales were down. They weren't making as much, and they were having a lot of competition, obviously, from Lamborghini with their Gallardo, and obviously now with their Huracan.
Yeah.
And with Porsche, I mean, Porsche has been giving competition to everybody, but just because how many cars they're selling, and just the staggered amount of cars that they're selling at, and how many cars that they're putting out there now, how many models.
It's so many. And Porsche the cars are brilliant. I love everything about Porsches except for the price point.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, when you get like a fully loaded Turbo S, the car is brilliant. Performance-wise, you can't. It's absolutely mind-blowing how well sorted out that car is. But at a fully loaded price of like $240,000, I'd rather have a 488 or a Huracan, because as amazing as the Porsche is, it looks like every other Porsche.
It still looks like exactly. That's my exact problem that I've had. I'd say not from the 993, but everything from 996 plus.
Yep.
I've had that same, and I understand that's why it's a Porsche. That's why it's a 911. Everybody could, you could put a brand new 99, the 991.2 right now, and go all the way to the 60s, and you could put those cars, all the cars in between, and look at all of them and say, yeah, they're all 911s. I can understand why. But that's the problem. That for me, that you hit the nail on the head on that one, man. I couldn't do it, because to me, the 911 Turbo and the Turbo S, even the GT3, the GT3 RS, the GT2 RS, and the what was the GT2 and the 997 and the 996, it's still a 911. It doesn't. Yep. I look at them, oh shit, look at GT3 RS, awesome. But I don't go, oh my god, I need to have, like, this is a supercar. It doesn't have that supercar appeal. It doesn't have that supercar design, is what I would say.
Exactly. Yeah. And it has the performance. Yeah, and it's got the comfort of a touring car like you wouldn't believe. But it doesn't have the supercar look. And it kills it for me.
Yeah, if you're gonna spend $230,000, it's gotta have that. And for me, the other thing, you could technically say that, and the new 911 really is a mid-engine car because of how far back the engine is pushed into the firewall.
Yep.
But it's still not a real mid-engine car. It doesn't feel like a mid-engine car, even though the newer ones, like I drove the 991 when it first came out, before the Turbo came out. I was in Vegas for my 31st birthday. I rented a couple really awesome cars. One of them being just, I wanted to, the main car I had was a Gallardo LP 552, LP 550-2. Fantastic, super fun car. It was Ithaca green. I love that color. That's my favorite color on pretty much any Lambo. And specifically the Gallardo was also, it was a Spider. I had the top down all the time. And the Dash 2, which obviously is the two-wheel drive, holy shit, does it change how the car feels. When you drive the four-wheel drive, I remember I drove several Gallardos, and it just, everything felt so neutral. You really didn't feel what the car was doing as far as when it was turning. It was very hard to determine, even when you were slamming, like when you were trying to to brake very hard. The brakes felt very, very detached. It wasn't giving you a lot of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a good thing, because then,
No.
especially if, when you want to know what's going on underneath the road, you want to know what's going on beneath you. So it was a very plain car. Now, the engine was amazing. The 5.2 liter V12 that the V10 that thing has is, I think, one of my favorite engines, V10s of all times, including your Viper. The V10 that's in your Viper. It's one of those engines that makes such a specific sound that when you hear it, you don't even have to see the car. You know exactly where the engine came from, like what car it's in, which is
exactly
amazing. But yeah, Porsche is, and I get it. They did, they made the 918 and the Carrera GT, and to me, if you're gonna that would be the only thing at that point. If you want a supercar, a Porsche supercar, you'd have to go for a Carrera GT or a 918.
Agreed.
Those are $1 million.
Yeah.
So now you have to go, oh, well, wait a minute. If I'm going to get that, what about the other $1 million hypercars like the LaFerrari and the McLaren P1 and the oh my God, what am I missing here? The LaFerrari, the 918. Oh, that's right, the 918 and the McLaren P1. If you ask me right now, would I purchase a Carrera GT in comparison to? Because I want to ask you the same question. Would I purchase a Carrera GT in comparison to the three hypercars of the latest three hypercars, the LaFerrari, the P1, and the 918? I would have to drive a Carrera GT, which I've never driven a Carrera GT. And then I could answer that question. But knowing everything that I know about the car, I mean, obviously it's actually cheaper than those three cars, so I probably would go for the Carrera GT. Now, if you told me money's not an object, which car would you have to have? I think it's in a different league, because obviously the Carrera GT was, it was a hypercar of its time. It's still a hypercar, but if you compare it to today's hypercars, it's gonna get smoked. I mean, it's really gonna get its ass kicked. So, but what would you, John? Just a quick question: what would you take if money was not an object and you had to choose just one of those?
So one of those, I've seen a few Carrera GTs at a variety of events and stuff. I've been inside the P1, the 918, and the LaFerrari, and I've actually driven the LaFerrari.
Oh, you've driven one? Oh, that's
fucking. I didn't get to drive it very far.
But you got to drive it.
But I did get to drive it, and I don't fit very well in the P1. And in general, I'm not a big fan of McLaren. I think the cars are beautiful. They perform really well, but from the maintenance standpoint and the recent recall for catching on fire, as much as I like, and as much so the P1's out from not being able to fit in there, and just my general prejudice against McLaren. The 918 is beautiful. I love the styling of it, especially the exhaust coming out of the top rear. But I'm a sucker for a Ferrari, so I'm gonna have to go with the LaFerrari, and the car is just next level.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me ask you on the P1. Are you taller than 6'1"?
No, I'm 6 foot. It was probably the way the car was spec'd, but it just felt really cramped, and it wasn't doing it for me.
Okay. I'm surprised. I'm a little surprised on that, because I know that Clarkson is, I believe he's 6'1", and he didn't have too much of an issue. And that was one of the things that I think when they were designing the interior cabin, that's one of the cars, the hypercars, you feel a lot more spacious inside, and you feel like you have more air and more air to breathe and be able to kind of look around. And they did that with different tricks when they were designing the roof line of the car.
Oh, interesting.
So that's a little. I just thought maybe because of that you were a little taller than 6'1" or 6'2", that maybe it would start getting into an issue. But was it spec to was it a car that had the fixed seat?
So it was spec to a gentleman who is shorter than I am. So that was probably a factor as well.
Yeah, that would probably be, because I think would you say if you could have moved the seat back, you probably would have felt a lot more comfortable?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's just a spec issue, but yeah, the LaFerrari, I haven't driven a LaFerrari. Those are the three cars that I'd say probably as of right now I have not driven. I haven't driven a 19, haven't driven a LaFerrari. definitely not driven a P1. I'd love to drive all three, but they did. Chris Harris did a fantastic review with two other drivers. I think it was Tiff Needle, obviously, and there was another. I don't know if he was a Grand Prix rally driver. I'm trying to remember if it was a Formula One driver. He was a famous race car driver. Um, they beat the shit out of the cars on a racetrack with their choosing of tires because that was something that the manufacturers were trying to control.
Yeah.
Which is funny that they were trying to do that, but I understand why they were doing that. And I don't like that they were doing that. So finally they got they obviously got cars that were owned by probably people that they knew or contacts that they would reach out to. And they were able to spec the cars out with all the same exact, I think it was the Pirelli R. I think they used three different tires, but one of them was a Pirelli R. It was obviously a race compound race tire.
Right.
And they tried all, they did everything that you would to try to name the best car on the racetrack. And it was funny because they came to this conclusion, you know what? They all agreed that they said that all cars do what they have to do absolutely insanely amazing, but they do it in different ways.
Yeah.
The 918 being the most heavy because the four-wheel drive is one of the downsides of that car, which gives it its amazing ability. But I think that if someone, like for example, I don't know if there's a way to do this. Maybe it would the CPU of the car might have a problem with this. But I'm wondering if you could detach the front diff, just throw it. I mean, not throw it out of the garbage, but I'm just saying detach it, maybe remove it from the car and see how the car would handle. But I think that would probably fuck up so many things of the chassis components of the car with the computer. It probably would not do very well with knowing that wait a minute, what my front diff is missing. What the hell's going on here? I don't know if you could do that, but if you could, then I think that would make it a much more interesting battle between the LaFerrari and the P1.
Yeah, it would definitely change things up a lot with that.
Yeah, and by itself, just with the weight, a diff weighs usually a couple 100 pounds, 200-300 pounds. So you can imagine.
Yeah,
moving. Exactly. But even though still then, it being four-wheel drive, they all decided that we cannot really pick a winner on this because they were all very close to each other. They really were. The 918 was the one that was just a little bit slower because of the weight. But they said, hey, if the 918 was a rear-wheel drive car, it could have changed the outcome of how much closer they all could have been. Mm-hmm. So they're absolutely amazing cars. And what's going on now with the hypercar world with the AMG GT1, the Aston Martin Valkyrie, and what else am I missing? There's three new hypercars. I don't even know what Porsche, Ferrari, and not even Lamborghini. Porsche, Ferrari. I'm trying to figure out what they've been working on. Supposedly they have to come up with a successor to the 918 soon.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what am I missing here, John?
There's the new Apollos out as well.
Oh, there we go. The Apollos. That's a fantastic. Yes. That's the Evolution. Oh shit, my God. I'm half Italian. I can't even pronounce it. That's really bad. I'm going to tell you right now. I have it pulled up here because I actually have it saved in. Where is it? It's called the Apollo. Oh my God. It's the. Oh, that's right. The Evolutione. No. Wait, I gotta find it. Give me 1 second here, John. Hold on.
Tenda Emozioni?
Yes, that one. Yeah, it's the, and I think there's three different versions of it.
Yeah.
Apollo. Here we go. Yeah, it's the. Okay. Oh, the designer's Joe Wong. Hold on. Manufacturers Apollo Automobili. Oh yes, the Intensa Emozione is what that's the word I was looking for. Actually, I got to see that car just this past year as well. Here in Miami, they had the Miami Concourse right before this whole fucking coronavirus happened, and it was sick. I'll send you some pictures. They had three of their cars there. It was sick. They had actually no, they had two of their cars. They had an orange one. And then they had that crazy looking. It's basically like that paint that color changes. It's like a
Dragon.
That one.
Yeah, that thing was nuts. I saw Daily Driven Exotics did a video down in Arizona. They went and saw two of them, and that was one of them. It was insane.
It is insane. You know that thing has a transmit, and I didn't even know this. It has an X-Track transmission on that car.
Wow.
So yeah, it has the same transmission you would get on a GT3 Cup car, on any type of Le Mans,
Yeah.
a race car. It's literally a transmission. I don't know if you know too much about the X-Track, but the X-Track transmissions, they've been making literally race inspired racing transmissions for more than 20 plus years.
Yep.
That car, because you could hear when the I think it was either one of the owners or one of the CEOs was there with the car, and he was driving it up onto the flatbed, and I didn't know I had this. And when they started up the car, you feel it going into gear, and when it went into gear, you hear the compression that comes from the compression tank that actually will not allow you, or it can be programmed to not allow you. Let's say you're coming into, I don't know, a very fast turn. You have to downshift from third to second. The way the X-Track transmission works is that it's air compressed.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's programmed to, it will not allow you to downshift. And this is to make sure that you don't blow up the transmission in the engine.
Yeah.
It will actually not allow you to downshift into second. It'll read the RPM that it's at, and it knows that, wait, if you downshift right now, if you downshift me into second, you're gonna kill me right now. You're gonna kill me and kill the engine. So it actually won't allow you to do that. It's fucking ridiculous. It's an absolutely, from where they used to be as a company 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when I first saw the first Apollo that they did that actually came out on Top Gear.
Yes.
To this thing, I mean, when I saw it at the Goodwill Festival of Speed doing donuts, I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, it is wild.
I had to Google it. I'm like, what the hell is this crazy car? And then I finally found that it was the Apollo. I'm like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the design on this is what I'm talking about. We are on a new level this is, I think, I had the same discussion with another person that I had on just 2 weeks ago, Justin from he's got a really cool YouTube channel as well. I'll send you his info. We had the same discussion. Right now, without a doubt, it is the most interesting time to be alive as far as supercars and hypercar and supercar technology goes.
For sure.
Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. So we have completely derailed, and the train went off the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, it did.
Go way back. So you were still explaining. Oh, so you were telling me all about how all these amazing the car shows, the auctions, everything was getting canceled due to COVID.
Yep, everything's getting canceled and rescheduled for next year. It's interesting. There are a mix of track days are still going forward with their events, which I think is great. And we're also seeing an increase in like cruise-ins. People just go on drives and stuff and doing social distancing that way. That way they're still keeping the automotive spirit and community alive and going. And right now, the big one that I've got my eye on right now is the SEMA show in Las Vegas, Nevada, the first week of November. And as of right now, they are still moving forward. Awesome. Of course, they're monitoring the situation on a regular basis. It sounds like they're probably not going to make if they have to cancel. It sounds like they're not going to push that decision until probably September timeframe, based off of what I've been reading on their website, unless there's like some huge change in information between now and then. Right. But that's the big one I'm waiting for now. I'm hoping that one goes through.
Okay. Are you going to be attending?
I am. I've been going to the SEMA show for probably close to 15 years now.
Oh man, I'm so jealous, dude. I've never been able to attend.
It's insane. Ever. It's an amazing event. What's interesting is it's an industry conference, basically.
Yeah.
Most people, when they hear the SEMA show, they just think it's some big car show. But no, it's actually the automotive aftermarket industry's annual tech conference. It's like your CES for the
CES for
But it's all for cars. So all the big manufacturers are there. The aftermarket companies are all there showing off their latest and greatest products and stuff. You're setting up business deals, but they have amazing cars on display to check out while you're there.
Yeah, the SEMA show, unfortunately, I just never got a chance to go. I've always wanted to be a part of it. I might be able to be a part of it this coming show just because of the that information I told you about, that app that I had teamed
Yes.
up with the. Okay, so hopefully we will get to go. Obviously, it's not a cheap thing to do. It does cost a lot of money to become a vendor,
It does.
and you got to get in line.
Yeah,
So we'll see. We'll see if I get to go this year. But if I do, then we'll definitely meet up there because you're going to be going. So
for
that's
sure.
awesome.
Yep.
Are
I'll
you
be
going to? Sorry, John. I don't want to interrupt you. Are you going to be taking your car, or is it you're attending as a guest, like as
Yeah, so basically, we go every year because I do automotive restorations and stuff.
Okay,
And this
cool.
year, we're also going to be trying for my first year as media passes with my YouTube channel, Life at Speed,
Exactly.
because I want to try and cover the event for the YouTube channel. Um,
Awesome.
but we usually drive because it's like 500 miles from where we're at in California, so it's
Yeah,
not that big of a deal to drive down there, and that way we have one of our cars in town to just go and enjoy the what Vegas has to offer.
for sure. Yeah, I love Vegas, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love to. And actually, that was another thing we should have talked about, but you just kind of beat me to the punch. Your YouTube channel. That's how John. How long has it been up and running for?
So my YouTube channel it's pretty new. I launched it the day after Christmas of 2019, so December 26th,
Okay,
and I started doing 2 videos a week, and now since the start of February I've been doing 3 videos a week.
awesome.
And yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. I've been learning a ton. Um, I've been doing all sorts of stuff. I was hoping to be going to all sorts of events. Another downside from the COVID-19 was I was scheduled to do a media event with Ford at Sears Point Raceway to review the new GT 500 Mustang.
Dude, no way.
Yeah, and so that was supposed to happen this week actually, and that
Wow.
got postponed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. They're gonna reschedule for later in the year, and I
Right.
told them, I said, once you have the new date, let me know because I'll definitely be there. So it's still gonna happen. It's just when at
Yeah,
this.
when?
So, but yeah, the channel we cover all sorts of stuff. A lot of stuff from my past experiences with the various cars. There's a very heavy Viper focus on there right now,
Right.
and but it's going to cover all of the stuff that I do with cars, working on them, going to events, my friends and their cars and stuff. Because I've got a lot of friends that have a huge variety of cars that people would just love to see and hear about. And
Right.
so we're going to be doing more of those videos in the future. Because I've got friends that have got other Vipers. I've got friends with McLarens,
Right.
Porsches, Ferraris, Paganis, Bugattis. I mean, you name it. I've probably
Hey,
got a friend that's got access to something on that list.
okay, that's awesome. You have a couple friends of yours that actually own Paganis?
I have one acquaintance of mine that I met through a mutual friend that's got a couple of Paganis.
What? So
Yeah.
Hawaii, we're talking about Huayras and Zondas,
Yep.
or
One of each.
whoa,
It's
that's
got a Wire
fucking
Roadster,
sick.
the Zonda F, I believe it is.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, the Zonda.
The Zonda, wait, you mean the Zonda R, the race, like the last Zonda they made? The
It's the. I'm pretty sure it's a Zonda F. It was the one that set the Nürburgring record over a decade ago.
Yeah, that's the R.
Is it the R?
Hold on, let me see. Yeah, the Zonda F. Wait a minute. Oh wait, I might be off.
Here we
Oh,
go.
you're right. No, you're right. Yeah, the Zonda F Roadster.
It is. Where's the picture of the car? Yeah, he got these two cars are just they're insane. Pagani is one of the cars manufacturers that I am just in love with.
Yeah,
It's truly a work of art. The
yeah,
car is so beautiful,
yeah.
and the attention to detail
It's
is
ridiculous.
next level.
Yeah,
The interior on some of this stuff is like a
yeah,
Swiss watch.
yeah. That's basically that's a fantastic comparison. That's what Zonda rep. I think the car we're talking about, just to make sure, because I think it's the Zonda R. The Zonda R was the last. It was the last Zonda, basically. I think right after they made a Zonda Cinque, which was they only made five of those, and those were limited run, obviously. I mean, 5 in the entire world. And then they made the Roadster, because the Zonda F was the Roadster. And the one that broke the Nürburgring obviously was the Zonda R, which was it's basically a lot. It's like the LM, it's like the F1 LM that we were talking about. That's basically the exact comparison. It's the lightest, most ridiculous, most insane track, completely track oriented, basically race car that they made at the end of its life, of the life cycle of the Zonda.
Yeah, so this one ran a 727 at the Nürburgring back in the day.
Yeah.
And the car it's insane. It's got an exposed carbon exterior, and it's just
that's the Zonda R, man. If he had someone with a Zonda R, then fucking hey, we have to do something. Because I don't know anybody with a Zonda R. Actually, I don't even know anybody. I have one friend who I know who's a crazy Lamborghini guy, and he actually also has a Zonda. Mm-hmm. He's pretty famous on Instagram, but I've never got to meet him. His first name's Chris, and he's got a Zonda, and I believe I want to say he's got one of the Shinkwes, but I could be off. It might be that he either has a Zonda R, yeah. And then I actually know another guy who was super famous. You could look this up on Google. You'll find it right away. There was a guy that I know who, what he did was he actually spoke to a lot of people have a misconception about this, which I'll just tell the story real quick. Did you ever hear about the story of the guy that put a Zonda? It's basically a Zonda, but it's not a real car. It's just it's more of a body that he installed in his apartment, and he put it sideways on a pole.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was so epic.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous. He had a conversation with so he has a Zonda R as well, and he actually had some problems with the Zonda R, which I don't want to say too much, but let's just say he had an issue with the exhaust. So the exhaust on the car, as you know, it's completely unlimited. I mean, it's a straight pipe fucking titanium exhaust.
Yep.
Full titanium exhaust. And they were giving him shit. So down here in Homestead Speed Raceway, that's one of our major tracks down here in Miami. They actually, which was ridiculous, they were trying to tell him, which I still don't understand how this is even possible. Homestead has, I mean, a lot of racing. And 90% of the cars that are there, they're all race cars. And they all have free-flowing exhaust. None of them have been restricted in any way, shape, or form. The problem he was having was that he had to wait, I think it was more than 6 months, for a specific exhaust that he needed, not for Homestead, because he was racing there. But when he went to I don't know if it was Daytona. He had gone to one of the tracks here in Florida. It might have been Palm Beach International. It was some stupid, no, because there's no homes near there. It was a track that he needed. It was a specific exhaust that he needed to order from Pagani that was just restricted to a certain amount of decibels that they would allow him to race the car at that track.
Wow.
And so he had to wait, which is, it's kind of crazy. You'd have to wait 6 months for, when you're a Zonda R or even a Zonda customer, but especially a Zonda R customer or a person that, has really spent, the most amount of money that they offer on their cars, that they were charged for their cars. He had a little bit of a gripe with Horatio, because he said that he had promised him an exhaust within a month, and it ended up taking more than 6 months for him to receive the exhaust.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so he was a little disappointed in that, but look, it could have been, I don't know, because I never really had a conversation with him. It'd be great to have him on. I could have that conversation with him, but
yeah,
I think it had to do with production, what was going on with production at the time. On the assembly line and all that, and it was just one of those things. I said, look, I can't just stop the assembly to make your exhaust that you need right now.
Right.
Which, hey, if you're Horatio Pagani, I understand. And he's not one of those people. Horatio Pagani has gone. There's a lot of people that have. Some people have reported that they were to go or have purchased a Koenigsegg and have purchased a Pagani. He said that the experience, the ownership experience, and the customer service. There are 2 different types of customer service. Completely. Wow. It's 9 day. How truthful is that? I don't know. I would expect that anybody who purchases any car from Koenigsegg or Pagani is going to get treated like royalty, because, hey, that's kind of what you're buying into as well when you're buying that car,
For sure.
But that's amazing, John. We'll have to do something. And just a little note on that as well, man. We should maybe we should plan something. It'd be great to maybe have a lot of all these contacts that maybe we could get together and we could maybe we can do a rally from California to Miami or vice versa. I can come to California. I'm from California and I haven't been there since I was 14 years old, so it'd be fantastic to go back.
Yeah.
To go to Laguna Seca. Maybe we could plan something at Laguna Seca. I also have a good friend of mine who works or has very good connections with the Texas Motor Speedway, the track of Super America in Texas.
Oh, yes.
So maybe we could plan something where we could meet in Texas, like a midpoint. We could do something there at that racetrack. There's a lot of things that we could do, man.
Definitely.
Which would be fantastic for your YouTube channel and for me as well. Just to, we could do a podcast on that. And I also want to open up my own YouTube channel, but that's something I'm still holding off until I have, everything in a row, because all my ducks in a row, because it's one of those things that you starting from ground zero, very well, if you're going to do something, you got to do it right, 120%.
Exactly, and it's a big undertaking, especially if you want to do it right. I mean, making sure you've got the equipment and the software and the time, and it takes a lot. And the research, it's a huge undertaking. I mean, from the time I started thinking about it, it took me 4 months of research alone.
Just to get everything right. Yeah.
Just to get everything lined up and decide, yep, I'm going to take this plunge.
Yeah.
I watched hundreds and hundreds of videos online and talked to dozens of contacts and stuff to make sure that this was something that was worth pursuing.
Right. Well, I give you a lot of credit for it, because it's a very difficult. It is, without a doubt. Don't anybody who's thinking about it, just type in YouTube. How hard is it to start a YouTube channel? And you will see many YouTubers that have taken years sometimes. I think that's the main problem, is that because today I think with technology, with filming technology, most people, and they do say this, a lot of people, I'm sure you encountered this as well. It's like, look, try not to focus all your energy on thinking you need a couple $1,000, you need like a $3,000 or $4,000 filming camera. Camera technology has gone so far beyond what we ever thought for smartphones that if you really wanted to, you can film on certain smartphones today, like even like the Galaxy S20, or was it the S20 or is it the S20 something 20? I'm bad with those, with the specific names of the but it's one of the new Galaxy phones that I think it's the S20 that the cameras on there. It's got like 4 different cameras on there, and you could film a lot of this stuff on a mobile phone, and then obviously in post make it look beautiful, make it look correct. But like you said, the time frame of the amount of energy, research, doing your own editing, I think if you take the editing, if you're not going to do your own editing and you take that out of the equation, I would say it would remove 60 plus or 70% of the of the difficulty of doing this, because I think that's the hardest part.
Oh, absolutely. Editing takes so much time. It's crazy how much time it takes. And when I first started, I started looking at it because you can go ahead and you can start pretty inexpensively. Like you said, the cameras on smartphones today are making huge leaps and bounds in technological changes and stuff, and their capabilities are really, really incredible. And there's a ton of free software out there for editing and stuff to do basic stuff. But I did the opposite end of the extreme. After doing all my research and everything, I went and bought more cameras and bought more software, and I've spent quite a bit of money on getting the equipment to what I wanted. It wasn't that the using like the cell phone stuff couldn't do a good enough job for what I wanted to do, but for the editing capabilities that I wanted, the effects that I wanted to do, and it made sense for me to spend the money on the editing software. And then as far as the camera goes, I started with using just GoPros, right? Because I figured GoPros they're cheap. I can use them. I can stick them on the cars and stuff. Right. And I quickly learned some of the limitations on them for when you're doing like a vlogging setup by not having a flip out display monitor, and which they've gotten better now with the new, because I have Hero 7 Blacks. Okay. And they've now got the Hero 8 Blacks, and they have a vlogging setup that has a flip out monitor as an option. Right. And so for a lot of people that works out great, but for me that wasn't really what I was going for. And plus, I already have a DSLR that I've been using for taking pictures and stuff at events. And so I was at the point where I was like, I'm going to be carrying a GoPro for vlogging, and I have this DSLR that I use for taking pictures. Why don't I combine the two? And so that's what I did, is I ordered a new full frame DSLR from Canon that's got a flip out monitor as well, because I knew if I was going to upgrade my DSLR, I wanted a full frame. Right. So there's only one full frame camera out there that's got a flip out monitor. So that's what I did. So now, because when I started, I was like, I'm not going to be that guy that's got this huge DSLR camera with this huge selfie stick or whatever vlogging. And next thing you know, I'm not even a month into starting my channel, and sure enough, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah, that's a good approach. I think you took a pretty smart approach on that, because it's also what you were mentioning. I think it has to do with it's not what equipment you're going to use, it's how you're going to use it and how you want it to look.
Yep.
I think that's very important.
I could have been just fine with even my I've got a Galaxy S9 and stuff, and it would have been fine. The audio and stuff is decent on it, enough to do what I wanted, but at the end of the day, that's just my nature, and I just overshot it big time.
No, I think that's not a problem. I mean, you also come from an engineering background. You're not going to go half-ass, and I think that's the right way of doing it. If you could afford to do it, obviously, proper equipment is number one. But if you're starting out, a lot of people I've spoken to, even Justin even told me the same thing. He's like, look, don't go crazy with the equipment because it's very expensive.
It is.
And it doesn't have to be, and you're just starting out, you're going to have to understand that it's going to take a lot of posting consistency before you start worrying about, like, before maybe your audience starts going, hey man, your audio or your visuals are, they're not very up to par. And then you could start going, okay, I think now it's time for me to upgrade.
Exactly. Because another thing is with like YouTube is it's a marathon and not a sprint, right?
Yeah.
So people get discouraged because they don't see an instant huge response. But you remember, you got your big YouTubers like Stradman and Vehicle Virgins and Daily Driven Exotics. They didn't start out with 3 million subscribers overnight. I mean, it took years. Stradman's story alone with how he quit his job and moved to Beverly Hills, living in his car.
In his Gallardo.
Just car spotting. It's insane. You really have to persevere. You have to be determined, and you just can't give up. And just keep grinding at it, and don't go out and go broke buying all this expensive camera equipment, because like camera lenses, they can easily clear $2,000 a shot.
2,000. Yep.
Right.
It's very expensive.
You don't need to do that to get started on YouTube.
Right. I have a good friend of mine. We have something else going on where we're doing a separate channel about. He has his own channel. Me and him are very good friends. He's like a brother to me. He's really like family. His name's Thiago. And we actually just did a podcast this past week as well about a separate thing that I'm doing with my girlfriend. It's a company that me and her and him, we all came up with. It has to do with firearms, which is really cool.
Nice.
He's been shooting since he was 6 years old.
Very cool.
So he's a marksman, and he really knows his stuff. And we decided that we would start doing that as well. He has the ability to go out and purchase some ridiculous, awesome equipment, which we did. And he got an Alpha 6600, the Sony, brand new Sony Alpha 6600.
Yep.
And you're not going to believe it. Even after spending all that money, and he got a rig, he showed me all the things he was going to get, like a complete rig with an external battery. I mean, it looks ridiculous. It looks like we're going to go film a fucking full-blown feature film.
Yeah.
And even then, you're not going to, he's not that good with technology, and he was having trouble just turning the thing on after spending so much money. It's like, it could be very nerve-wracking is what I'm saying.
Oh, for sure.
So it's not necessary. No. But yeah, I think that's awesome, man. I really, I think I applaud you for saying what you did and doing what you're doing, because it does take a lot of perseverance, a lot of consistency, and like you said, don't give up. It takes years. It does take years of building, and keep on doing what you're doing. And if you're pouring your love and passion to it, you will get other people to recognize that and go, okay, now I understand. Like it's not going to be a 2 month, 6 month. It's going to be at least a couple of years before you start seeing And if you look this up on YouTube, there's plenty of people stating, "Hey, look, I've been on YouTube for 1 year. Here's my results.
Yep.
Don't give up." Because
Exactly.
there's a guy that's been posting for 1 year consistently, I think 4 or 5 times a week. He's only at 10,000.
Yeah.
But only at 10,000, that we're comparing that with other people that have millions. 10,000, that's 10,000 people following you, man.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Like I remember this just the other day. I was looking back through some comparisons of what 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 50,000, and 100,000 people looks like. Mm-hmm. People forget a stadium, a football stadium, like a major football stadium, sometimes can't fit 15,000 people.
Right.
That gives you good perspective. I'm all about the perspective.
Absolutely.
So John, we're going to move on, because if not, we're going to be here for the next 10 hours. Good conversation. All right. So we covered pretty much the COVID. Yeah. So COVID-19 I want to just touch on that for a second. COVID-19 is the same here in Miami. The streets have been completely empty, but it's been amazing because, like you mentioned, the cruising and the meetups of keeping social distancing, but going to meetups. So I was just this past Sunday, I went to a huge BMW meet. Fantastic. Anybody that's listening, go check out Florida Beamers on YouTube. You'll see the video there. He literally just started the YouTube channel at the day of the meet, which was hilarious. We had 200 cars show up.
Nice.
200 BMWs, and I'd say 70. I'm trying to keep these numbers accurate, but I'd say easily more than 70% of the cars were M cars.
Wow.
So M3s, M4s, M5s, a couple M6s, E30s, E36s, E46s. There was one Laguna Seca Blue. I couldn't believe it. Out of 200.
Ooh.
But yeah, I love that color. It's my favorite color.
Beautiful.
And it was a great meet. It was we drove. There's a huge. There's a place where everybody goes actually street races. It's called Okeechobee 27th and US 1. That's where I grew up street racing. Mm-hmm. And we picked that road just to do the cruise because of how away it is from the city. And it's just open road for miles.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think it was going to happen because it looked like it was going to rain that day. And one of my car girls that is part of my car group for my I don't know if you saw in the email, John, that I sent you, the cars and caffeine and gasoline event that I have.
Yes.
So she's one of our members. I went with her. She's got a 4 Series BMW. With like every bolt on you think of, and dude, it was crazy when she, I called her. I'm like, hey, look, Danielle, I don't think it's going to happen because look outside. It looks like it's going to rain. She's like, let's just go. It'll be fine. If it rains, it rains. But if it doesn't, it's going to be huge. I said, okay, fine, let's go. So, yeah, as a car guy, I think that we've all done that. Like, oh no, it's not going to rain. The rain will hold off until we have our car show or our car meet or our car cruise, and then,
exactly.
And funny enough, that happens. I don't know how that happens, but it's one of those weird things. It looked like it was going to pour. I mean, I looked at it on the radar. It looked like a hurricane was it looked like an F5 hurricane was coming. And guess what? We went out. It didn't rain all day. Only at the end part of the day when everybody was going home did it start pouring and rain.
Perfect.
And we actually had a crazy situation. She was riding on very low bald tire. Like her tires were completely bald.
Oh, no.
Not a good thing. Yeah, not a good thing. Rear and front were completely bald. So you're not going to believe what happened. We're on the Palmetto, the 826, which is a major freeway that we, would go to. She was going to drop me off.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, hey, Danielle, be careful. Because, I mean, I didn't know that her tires were that bald, but she did tell me they were pretty bad. And I said, hey, look, be careful. We don't want to catch a puddle of water and start sliding around everywhere. Well, unfortunately, I kind of jinxed it. We were doing about 47, maybe 50 miles per hour on this freeway, which most people usually go 75, 80. But obviously, we were slowed down for the water, for the rain. It was pouring pretty bad, and it had been raining for at least about an hour and a half. So the roads were pretty wet. And man, we hydroplaned. The left rear tire just did not get enough traction. It just floated right above the water. And the car just started sliding all the way to the left. And she did pretty good. She actually countersteered almost lock to lock to the right. And
wow.
Dude, we got so sideways. There's a point of no return, as you know.
Yep.
Especially when you're drifting. And we got to that point. We were heading to that point, and we started sliding all the way to the left. And you know those dividers? I don't know in California. If you do, you guys have an express lane in California?
We do.
Okay. Do they have like those orange plastic dividers, the poles that divide? Oh, you don't?
No.
Hmm. Here in Florida, we have these dividers. So we have the express lane, which is divided by these poles that are literally put, I'd say, maybe 2 inches from each other, maybe a little more, maybe like three to 4 inches between each other. And these plastic poles are pretty strong. I mean, they prevent, basically what it does is it prevents people from cutting in when they're not supposed
Oh,
to.
yes. Yep, we do have those
We
for
do.
different applications, but yep,
Okay.
we've got those.
Okay. Well, those things are bolted down to the ground,
Yep.
and they're not. I mean, it's a piece of plastic, but you hit a piece of plastic at 45 miles per hour with a
It's gonna
car,
hurt.
it's gonna create. Yeah, it's gonna do some damage. So we started sliding, and as we're sliding, we're going to the left, and we started sliding into those poles.
Oh no.
John, we hit because I counted the dents on the car and the hits from the 15 of them from front to back. From the
Oh.
front of the car all the way to the quarter panel. And that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that I was looking at the right side of the wall. Well, my side was the right side, but remember, I'm a passenger, so we had already now turned 180, and I'm looking at the wall on the left side of the freeway, which we were going into, and I'm like, oh fuck, we're gonna. I knew it. I seriously was 90% that we're gonna hit the wall.
Yeah.
And as we're sliding, we're now basically turned 180 degrees, looking at oncoming traffic. Hopefully, there wasn't that many cars coming because, again, COVID has changed the amount of traffic that would have been on a Sunday.
Right.
So that was a good thing. And man, we came within 3 to 4 feet from the wall. So we ended up not hitting the wall, but yeah, she hit 15. I mean, not purposely, but we hit 15 of those poles, and it ended up putting dents throughout the front of the car all the way to the rear quarter panel, the right driver's passenger side rear. So. But anyways, hey man, I told her, I said, look, it could have been a lot worse, Daniela. We could have, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. We could have hit the wall. You could have wrecked the car.
Yeah.
So none of that stuff happened. We drove. We ended up actually driving to a place that was open for her to do an alignment because the alignment was completely off at that point. And she actually somehow, I don't know how, but she bent her front passenger side lower control arm, which I don't understand how that happens. We didn't really hit anything besides the cones.
Wow.
The poles. So yeah, so that was, but she's okay. We're okay. So that was, interesting story that happened on Sunday. So just had to put that in there.
Glad you guys are all right.
Yeah, we were okay.
It fixed.
It was funny, man. It was. I've been in a couple of those situations, racing and driving my whole life, and every time you get into it, it's weird how the brain can. It almost feels like it slows things down,
Right.
There's a scientific. There's a scientific, not a theory, but an actual. There was a couple of scientists that did the math of what happens in those situations, and it usually happens with like. Very high adrenaline pumping situations where your brain actually does this on purpose to try to. Sometimes it does it to erase the memory so it doesn't shock you and it doesn't. The brain is the most ridiculous thing on the face of the earth, man.
It's incredible.
It's absolutely amazing what the brain can do sometimes. But yeah, you can look it up, Google like high adrenaline situations, brain memory, and you'll find a bunch of articles that they've done a couple of studies, especially now that they're doing so many different studies on the brain. But what it does is that it gives you the impression, obviously it doesn't, we know it doesn't slow down time, but what it does is that the information coming into your brain, it actually supposedly slows down the speed to what, like almost like a rate of thought. It slows that down to a point so you can try to make the best decision in this type of situation. And obviously with driving, it sometimes gives you that half a second or half a millisecond that you might need to do a little bit of input to try to help you get out of that situation safely.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Okay, so next topic. So we were talking about the COVID. So here what I was just going to end up saying was just that, here the same. A lot of people have been kind of itching to dying to go on a cruise. So that's one of the reasons why this cruise that we there was three different car it was three different, not three different car shows, but it was like three different car groups that got together and wanted to make this big one. And obviously everybody came out because so many people wanted to just get out and just enjoy the day,
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to talk to you about this. So this is a really good. This is something you came up with. One of the topics you also came up with. It's misconceptions about the Viper, the Dodge Viper. So let's talk about that. What exactly do you mean by that? I think I know what you mean, but I wanted to run it by you.
So yeah, so there, the Dodge Viper. There's definitely some misconception out there by the public. I can't tell you how many times I've had people ask me which engine I have in it, whether mine has the V8, the V12, the V10, and so the car has always had a V10.
Yeah.
From 92 all the way up till 2017.
Yep.
It's always been an aluminum block, aluminum head system. The only thing that's really changed was the displacement and the power. So it started out at 400 horsepower and 8 liters. And when it ended production, it was making, I think, 645 horsepower on an 8.4 liter.
Right.
And so, yeah, and that's one of the big things was what engine is in that car. And no, it's always just been the one engine. There was no options. You couldn't get any different variations. That's what you got.
Well, that clears up one misconception that I didn't even know I had. So I thought that the first generation Vipers, all the way through the second or third, was a cast iron. So it's always been an aluminum block.
Yes, it's always been aluminum. So the where that misconception comes in is during the pre-development, Dodge was working on concurrently a V10 for their Ram truck, and that engine actually was cast iron. And so the guys on the Viper team decided they would take one of those pre-production Ram engines and start tinkering with it. And they, at the time, Chrysler owned Lamborghini. And so they got Lamborghini involved, and they said, hey, look, we've got this V10. And so between the two groups, they went together and completely redesigned the engine. I mean, the only thing that is remotely similar between the truck V10 and the Viper engine V10 is the pushrod dimensions. They're dimensionally the same, but the alloys of the material is different. So you can't actually take a truck pushrod and put it in the car engine because it's not strong enough.
Right. It would probably end up breaking, right?
Yep, exactly. And so that's where the big misconception on the early cars having an iron V10 is because there was some development going on with the truck and its iron V10 engine.
Dude, thanks for clearing that up. I didn't even know about the joint venture with Lamborghini. I had no idea.
Yeah, it was very brief. It was only for a few years, but yeah, Chrysler did own Lamborghini.
Wait a minute, is that okay? Hold on, because I'm having a flashback about a certain Lamborghini that I always had a question about, and I think maybe that's where it came from. Was that the Lamborghini that looked like a Diablo that didn't look like a Diablo, and it ended up getting that V10? Hold on, let me Google something, because I think there was a. I gotta look this up now. Lamborghini. I'm gonna put Lamborghini with a V10. See what comes up. 90s. See if I can find. There was this one really weird looking. It was strange looking. It looked like a Diablo. It looked like someone had taken pieces of a Diablo. Here it is. Okay, so it's called the. Oh no, so this wasn't a Lamborghini. It just tried to look like one. It was called the Damien Cross.
Oh.
No, hold on. This was Ital design. I'll send you some links to this. And we'll check it out later because I think this might actually be. It says right here. Oh, Ital design Lambo Cala. Yeah, Lambo Cala. Does anyone remember? Here it is, vintage. So we'll talk about this later because I think this maybe. Do you remember if they were working on a car? If they ever came up with a concept car?
No, I don't think. I think for the most part during Chrysler's ownership of Lamborghini, they kept the companies pretty separate.
Right.
They shared like engineering staff and things like that for certain ventures. But for the most part, they tried to keep things separate, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you this link and then we'll discuss. Maybe this might be something cool to dive into later on because I just had a flashback when you said that. I'm like, oh shit, maybe that's what that was, and because I remember this was it just looked. If you put if you just so you can look at it, if you put in. Try putting Ital, like Italy, but just Ital design Lambo Cala. It should pop up on Google Images, and you'll be able to get a look at it. It actually looked kind of cool. It looked like a Lotus. Yeah, it looked like a Lotus and a Lamborghini. I don't know why I'm getting Lotus, but there was just aspects of it that looked a little bit like Lotus.
It's got a Lotus feel to it. It absolutely does.
So I don't know. But I don't think that since you said. But that's really cool, man. Thank you for clearing that 20-year-old misconception that I had in my brain.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that's a big one I get all the time.
Right.
And the other one is whether or not you could get them with an automatic, and no, you can't. They only came with a 6-speed manual transmission.
Yes, and I salute and I give Dodge the most. I mean, I so much credit for that, and I'm so happy that they decided to go the same exact way with the the last gen, the Gen 5, because as you could tell, everybody has just said, no, fuck it, that's it, we're killing the manual. I don't care if you like it or not. And I have and I think a lot of us, and that's a conversation that's going to be going on for years, but I have a real problem with it. I don't have a problem with manufacturers saying, guys, look, we are at the point where we all know twin clutch will be faster on every human being on the face of the earth. Yes, we all know that. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. Like, we didn't know. What my problem is, don't just, from a manufacturing standpoint, just give me the option.
Right.
Just give me the option. Just have it open. Just don't kill it. Don't just close the door and put a brick wall and then a castle and then a moat with sharks around it and go, sorry, sorry, can't buy a manual anymore, ever again. That's a long time. Ever again is a long time. So I'm a little bit angry at a lot of these. I'm actually disappointed with Ford for pushing this with the new Shelby GT500.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I don't know why, but I'm not so disappointed with the C8 because I understand on the C8. But even then, they give me an option. Now, hopefully they're going to open that back up with the Z06 or the Z01 or the Zora. We shall see.
Nice.
Yeah, we shall see if that will be something that they might open up to and might have an option to. And I'm hoping. But if they don't, I will be disappointed. Am I going to say that I would never buy the car? No. The new C8 is the revolution of the mass-produced supercar that we've all been waiting for since supercars have been around. So there's not too much shit you could talk about the C8, but with the Mustang, it's a different car, especially the Shelby, the Cobra, that was always, there was never an automatic option.
Yep, it's always manual.
Yeah, so I find it disturbing. It's not a cool thing, and I get that a lot of manufacturers are trying to push that, but I don't like the fact that they're not giving us the option.
Yeah, I agree. And we're starting to see in the secondary markets the reflection that people do still want the manual. I mean, if you look at like Diablos and Mercies, and their gated ones are starting to command crazy money. The F430, perfect example, was the last mid-engine V8 Ferrari with a gated option. The gated base F430s are selling for almost as much, sometimes more, than a 430 Scuderia.
Yep.
That's just bonkers.
And don't forget about the 550, the 575. Those have skyrocketed.
I was just looking at those the other day. The 575 only is like roughly 15% got a gated transmission, right. And then the Super America, rumor is there's like less than 40 of them built with a gated manual.
Yep.
And I saw the last one, I think, changed hands like 4 years ago. A normal, for those listening, a normal Super America right now is about $250,000, $350,000, depending on.
Gated ones are going for 800 plus.
Gated ones are going for 800 plus. Yep. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
It's awesome. I like that. I like that it did do that. It has done that, and I think a lot of people saw that coming, and they kind of were like, "Oh shit, the market's going to do this. I better get my hands on one."
Yeah.
I think that's special. I think the only the only good thing of manufacturers pushing this is that it's done that, and it's opened up this new market for gated or manual cars that
for sure
very rare and now are going to be even more rare.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to make them a piece of history, which is pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. So along with the VIPER, John, any other misconceptions that, those were the main ones?
Yeah, that's the big hitter right there. And also, what's really interesting, the VIPER is technically a mid-engine car. Yes, the engine's in front of the driver instead of behind the driver,
Right.
But if you and it's amazing with how long and big that engine is. I mean, it's an 8-liter
It's
V10 or an
huge.
8.4. It's huge, right? But if you actually open the hood and look at it, the engine is pushed so far back, it is behind the front axle of that
The front
car.
axle. Yeah, so it is mid-engine. Wow. I did not know that. Now this is only on the Gen 5 though, right?
No, that's all of them.
Really? Even
Yeah,
oh shit.
yeah.
Okay.
It makes it
So
very difficult to change things like the rear spark plugs and coil packs because
right,
those are like under the firewall.
right.
But yeah, even the early ones, the engine was always behind the front axle.
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought that was only for Gen. I could have sworn that that was only for Gen. So that's awesome. That's an amazing aspect to the car that I see. I'm learning myself.
Yeah.
I feel stupid because I love the Viper. I've always loved the Viper. I've always had a special place for it.
It's such a cool car,
Wow.
and that's like where and that leads into like there's a huge misconception that the car can't go around a corner, right?
Right.
They're like, oh, Americans, they just build these big horsepower brutes. They're only good for a straight line.
Right.
Well, yeah, they're big horsepower brutes, and the Viper puts down an insane amount of torque,
Yeah.
but the car can go around a corner. I'm
Right.
being technically mid-engine. It helps with the weight distribution, getting to that sweet 50-50.
Right.
And then for the longest time, it held records at the Nürburgring, Laguna
Right.
Seca. Even being a manual transmission car, when you get all these other cars coming out that are dual clutch and just insane technology into them, and yet the Viper's still faster around
Right.
an actual road course.
Yeah. The amount of torque that V10. I mean, when I really like I said when the Vi the beginning of the Viper, and I believe there was a little. You can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that the Viper was actually made in conjunction to try to put up a fight with the Shelby Cobra and Shelby himself. Correct. That was one of the reasons why Dodge was trying to make a vehicle that could actually go against the Corvette, all the cars that it was its rivals, its direct rivals.
Yeah, Carroll Shelby was actually involved in the original project for the Viper. The
Right.
goal that Chrysler had was to basically build a modern interpretation of what the Cobra was in the 60s. They
Exactly.
wanted something that had the same feel, the same soul and essence to it, but at the same time was unmistakably something unique.
Right.
And that's what they did. I mean, they got Carroll Shelby involved and from very early on, and he actually when the Viper paced the Indy 500, I think it was in '91.
Hmm?
Carroll Shelby was the one who was driving it.
Oh shit! So he was actually part. See, that was another thing. I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was that Dodge was trying to come up with a way, but you're right. It was that he was actually involved in the project of. And how far did that go? Did it go into prototype, and then he decided that this was not? When did he decide that it wasn't going to be something he wanted to be a part of?
I don't know if there was ever a point when he decided he wasn't going to be a part of it. I think he was always interested in it.
Right.
He ended up then later going on and wanting to develop his own unique car that was solely his design. Because I mean, even back when with the Cobra, it was still an AC,
The AC.
and with a Ford power plant. So
Mhm.
he decided he wanted to do something on his own, and so he came up with the Shelby Series 1 in the late
Right.
90s.
I remember the Shelby Series 1, which, by the way, there was a person that I have as a friend on Facebook that just was in front of one car, and I was like, one of the Shelby Series ones. I was like, oh shit! I've only seen one. I was in a big warehouse. It's a company that does race prep for race car owners.
Yep.
They're pretty big here in Miami as well. I could not believe what I was seeing. So I saw two of the rarest cars that I think I've ever seen, right up there with the McLaren F1 and the car we were talking about before, the EB10, the EB110, and the Vector. So that afternoon, I had gone to this warehouse where I had to just talk to a friend of mine about he wanted to set up a race prep, and I say, hey, look, the best guys that I know are these guys. Go to him. So he's like, hey, why don't you come along with me? You can introduce me to the owner, this, that, whatever. I said, yeah, let's do that. So I went over, and one of the owners says, hey, do you want to see something really special? I'd like to show your friend, if he's going to be part of the company, if he wants to be one of our customers, I want to show him the type of caliber of cars we have here. I said, yeah, sure. What do you have? So we walk in, and there's a Ferrari 333 SP race car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those are pretty rare. There's less than, I think there's 100 in the entire world.
Wow.
And Yeah, those were built by Dallara, as you know, and Dallara had their hands in most of them, and there's a huge history on that car. And this was chassis one.
Oh no!
Yeah, so
Wow.
that was like holy shit. So that was really cool, and I actually had seen the car 10 years prior, racing at Lime Rock
Hmm.
with the owner at the time, who supposedly was kind of like the Godfather. He was like the Godfather of Ferrari, is what they used to call him. He was this very old guy, and it was weird as hell. The guy looked like it was hilarious. I got to meet Valentino Balboni once,
Oh wow.
which is the chief test driver for Lamborghini, or was the chief test driver for Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And he was really cool, man. He was very humble, very cool guy. And dude, this guy looked like he could have been his dad. It was so weird. I'm like, are you? And I even asked him. I said, by any chance, is your son Valentino Balboni? He's like, no. But I've gotten this before. You know, it's like there have been people that have seen his face and go, holy shit, I think that's his dad. Very amazing car. And then, then where we're walking back towards the entrance, he's like, oh, wait, I forgot to show you something else. And I'm like, what the fuck else are you going to show me? You just showed me a chassis, a Ferrari 333 SP, chassis number one. What else can you show me that would top that? And guess what was there?
Series 1.
A Series 1. And I'm like, holy shit. I had never seen one in my life. It was awesome. It's a little bit weird to look at because you could tell that it stopped, and it kind of stopped at the concept. I mean, it was a full production car that they only made. I think they made less than 10 units, right? 10, 15 units?
I think they made like 250 of them was what they finally ended up popping out.
Okay.
So
that's a lot more.
They did a decent production run, but it's so rare to actually see them in person. I've probably could count the number of times on my hand that I've actually seen one in person, and only once have I actually seen one driving. And that was over 20 years ago that I saw it driving.
Wow, you saw one on the road. That's rare. That's a rare sight.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was when the car was like brand new. It was like 99 or 2000, and I was driving around and I see this car go by and I'm like, holy crap, that was a Series 1. And I chased it down because he was going to show it off to some buddies of his at some shop in town, and I pulled in. I was like, wow, this car is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, I've talked to a bunch of people who have actually driven them and stuff, and they all say it doesn't drive or function anywhere near as well as it looks, which is a huge heartbreak. The car is just gorgeous to look at.
It is.
But hear that it doesn't actually function as well as it looks is real depressing.
Well, I think that had to do with the fact that maybe it might have gone into production, but this is something they were testing. It was a little bit of a test bed. They were trying to figure out what they really wanted to do with the car.
Yeah.
Looking at the pictures of the car, because while you were mentioning it, I was like, let me Google it again. You know, there's something about it that almost looks like if you got a C5 Corvette and a Viper, and they both had a child, and this is kind of what came out of it. And you could tell that I can see a lot like the quarter panel lines on it, the way that the bulge comes out of it, and it's making the arch.
Yeah.
A lot of that reminds me, it's like if you cover up the wheels a little bit and you just kind of cover up the front, it almost looks like a convertible Viper. It almost looks like the first generation Viper. So I could see where, I guess, the influences of maybe where he got when he was working with Dodge, and then he took those design cues and he might have put them into this car.
For sure.
Well, yeah, it's a shame that a car doesn't drive as amazing as it looks, but that happens, you know, and I'd love to do, I'm going to do some more research on this and try to see if I can figure out exactly what happened and why it never turned out to be what it should have been, because there was a lot of things riding on. And I think this is right after this is when Ford came up, or Shelby went to Ford, or Ford went to Shelby, and they say, hey, why don't we create our own, you know, the SVD program, the Special Vehicle Team program.
Yep.
And we'll come up with the line of Cobras. Let's bring the Cobra back, the Shelby Cobra, and that's when they finally made the Terminator. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I know the Series 1's development and production, it was plagued with all sorts of problems. Because they sourced a lot of stuff from the GM parts bin. And like the engine is out of an Oldsmobile Aurora.
Oh my God. What the fuck?
And then
it's garbage.
Yeah. And then I think the convertible top is actually from the C5.
Oh, so then this has components of the C5 then.
Yeah, so they were having
Wow.
all sorts of production problems and development problems. And the poor car was doomed from the get-go because it was just plagued by so many problems throughout the entire process.
Right.
And they end up they I know the production got cut short, way short from where it was. 'Cause I think the company might have even running into some financial issues, and there was just a lot of problems with
Right.
this poor car.
Right. Well, did you ever talking about Shelby's, John? Did you ever see the Daytona Coupe, the new Daytona Coupe? Like they actually remade the brand right before he passed away. They actually gotta come up with the name. If you put Daytona Coupe 2017, hold on.
So you can buy a brand new Daytona Coupe now from Shelby America. Part of
Correct,
their
Shelby America. That's what I was. Yes.
Yeah, they had it. So back in 2012, I think it was right after Carol had passed, the Monterey Historics for during Car Week had they were specialized in Carol Shelby's Cobras, and they had an they only made, I think, was it 6 Daytona Coupes originally back in the 60s.
Yeah, I think
And
either six
they,
or yeah, right around that number.
yeah, it was a really low number of them,
Hmm.
but they had most of them there at the racetrack, and they were racing,
Right.
and it was
Which
it
is
was
sick. I love that car.
the car is
This,
insane.
this is one of my favorite. I mean, obviously the Cobra, the Shelby Cobra had its history. I mean, it beat Ferrari. We all know that. That's fantastic. And the Ford GT and fantastic, awesome.
Yep.
But this right here, I'll tell you this. As you know, the Ferrari 250 GTO has been deemed, and now a $74 million worth car,
Uh-huh.
has been deemed the most gorgeous, beautiful car of all time. You know what I say? Yes, it is, but only because it looks like this. Only because it looks like a Shelby Daytona Coupe. You
Yeah.
know? I mean,
Yep.
it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they're both different cars, obviously, but they come from that same era, and
Same era. They raced against each other.
they race against each other. And this thing, fuck the 74 million. I mean, not fuck it. Look, I get it. If I had maybe a couple $100 million, I would maybe think. But I think this is what I think about a $74 million 250 GTO. If you're a billionaire or maybe have a couple $100 million in the bank that you could spend to buy a Shelby Daytona Coupe, a 250 GTO, hey, listen, you want to go ahead and be that guy? Go ahead. More power to you. Not a problem. Cool. But if you ask me realistically, I mean, just think about that, right? Like, just the amount of money, just 74 million, because that's what they've gone up to now
Yep.
because of last year. It is an investment. We all know that.
For
And
sure.
so, is it worth it to get this over the man any day? Any day. I would take this thing any day over the Ferrari. Now, I'm half Italian. Would I love to have that in my garage? Of course I would. It'd be
For sure.
fantastic. But the problem with it is that I want to drive it every single day, and I would drive it every day, but the insurance is gonna want to kill you.
For sure. Now there's an alternative, a much more cost-effective alternative. There is a guy in Australia, I believe, and
Mhm.
what he's doing is he takes the Ferrari 250 GTE, I want to say it is,
Right?
and he converts it to look identical to the 250 GTO.
That's awesome.
So you can essentially have a 250 GTO in every aspect you can imagine, except for the VIN number,
Right.
and a fraction of the cost. I mean, they're still not cheap. They're about $1 million to get
Right.
one. But
Right.
when you're comparing it to $74 million for a real one,
Ridiculous.
that's a hell of a bargain.
Yeah.
And your insurance guy is not going to have as big of a heart attack.
Right. Yeah, and you're getting it's pretty much, the GTE is the 250 GT, excuse me, the 250 GTE is pretty much the same frame. It's not even,
Exactly.
that's, why not,
Yep.
But even talking about that, I'm looking at I think it's called Super Performance. Yeah,
Yes.
that's the company that makes this. Oh my God, this thing is, man. It doesn't matter what color. And actually, I know. I have pictures of one that was at Homestead Speed Raceway. I immediately asked the guy, "Is this one of the super?" He's like, "Yes, it is." It had the badge on there because they put they're all serial numbered,
Yes.
and they have a badge on the dash. Dude, this is where it's at, man. I
For
mean,
sure.
you have one of the most legendary absolutely amazing, historically important. Shelby Cobra, Shelby Daytona Coupe, legendary, iconic body with race technology from today that can actually kick ass at a racetrack and actually drive around corners and be a fucking badass car.
Yeah.
This is it, man. This is what I would want.
And if you don't want to spend, I think the ones from Superformance, the continuation cars, I think they start like $250,000 or something.
I think so, yeah.
Factory 5 Racing, they just came out a couple of years ago. They debuted at SEMA. We saw it there. A new Daytona Coupe that Peter Brock actually looked at and said, yeah, they did a great job on it. Wow. And you can order their kit, build your own Daytona Coupe, and you get your choice for like motor mounts. You can either run the new Coyote motor out of the Ford Mustang.
Out of the GT, yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Right? Or you can run an old school motor like they had back in the day. I mean, the options are endless. And I think the kit started like $22,000.
Yep.
Now, after you go and buy your engine and brakes and suspension, stuff like that, you'll end up at $50,000, $60,000. But still, $50,000, $60,000 for this badass American vintage looking race car.
Yes.
That one of the 6 original ones are like $10 million. I mean, it's a hell of a bargain.
Yes. Yeah, this is. I didn't know. Things are telling me about the Factory 5. I didn't know they made. I just looked it up right now. That's awesome, and it looks fantastic.
See, I'm not a big fan of Factory 5. Their Cobras and stuff, because
they haven't had
them way off.
Exactly.
They integrate with Fox bodies. I mean, it's a great bargain if you really want to just get an entry level Cobra. They're great for that. But their Daytona Coupe, they did it right.
This looks. I mean, I was just looking at the Superformance, and this one looks exactly the same. There's no difference. Yeah. I mean, there's probably a couple subtle differences that we're not catching, but who cares about that?
Right. Well, the original 6, all 6 of them are different, anyways.
Yes, exactly.
They were all hand built, and each one is different from the other one.
Correct. And that, so that by itself grants it enough to be like, hey, you know what? I don't care.
Right.
Looks amazing. It's my favorite. Yeah, it's just that body style. And if you look at it, right, just thinking about it, this body style, if you put it next to your second gen, it's kind of close, like the hardtop.
It's funny you mentioned that, because the designer of the GTS Coupe Viper, the Gen 2 like mine,
right,
he drew inspiration from both the Daytona Coupe and the 250 GTO.
There you go. So so the Viper is like the middle child. You know what I'm saying? It's the in between, which, I mean, the car looks, again, it looks absolutely amazing. I think there's a certain one thing. I always have this conversation with people when we're talking about bodies of cars and the dimensions of the bodies of the cars and the different. Literally what comes down to numbers, and you being an engineer, you would appreciate this. There is what's called I think it's called the Fibonacci code. Is it the Fibonacci code, or is it the Fibonacci sequence? I'm sorry, the Fibonacci sequence. Very important. In the 90s, I think all car guys can agree that in the 90s we literally had some of the most beautiful, proportionally made cars ever made. That was for a reason. There's a couple manufacturers that have taken advantage of this. And with the have you ever heard of the Fibonacci sequence?
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. It's basically you have to really dive into it, but it's basically what it is that it's a scientifically the human eye, there's a certain formula that it finds like almost perfection as far as proportions go. Yeah. And what the Fibonacci sequence is that the manufacturers, they took that, and you could apply it to anything. Actually, Tool, the band Tool, has used it on some of their most amazing albums and some of those most amazing songs that they produced. They take the sequence, and then they calculate it to put it and make a body out of it, right? And proportionally body out of it for a car. So there was a couple of cars. There was a lot of cars in the 90s. The Supra being one of those cars. The NSX was one of those cars, the Toyota Supra, the Honda NSX. The RX-7, the FD RX-7 was one of those cars. I believe, I don't remember if it was the 355 before I used it, but it was very close. And I'm missing, there was the 787B, I believe, was used using this sequence as well. And the Daytona Coupe, obviously now, I guarantee, I mean, maybe they're not using the Fibonacci sequence, but it would be fantastic to speak to some of the designers and ask him, hey, look, did you by any chance maybe, because again, there's a certain, and this goes for anything. It doesn't just go for cars. It goes for proportions. So the human eye will pick up on these perfect proportions and go, that's perfect. You
Yep.
know, they'll just look at it and go, holy shit, that's just, your brain just lights up, like your synapses just go off and like, wow, there's something that screams perfection about this. And it has to do with that Fibonacci sequence being perfected to the human eye, what the human eye considers perfection. So it's absolutely amazing that they could apply that rule and put it into the bodies of the cars and to make them proportionally perfection to the human eye. So it's absolutely amazing. But that's great, man. I had no idea about the what was the name of the designer again? The guy that did the
So the guy who did it was, I think it's Bob Hubach.
okay.
Let's see. Let me double check that.
And he was the one that came up with the design of using inspiration from the Shelby Daytona Coupe and the
Yep.
250 GTO.
Yep.
It's man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So Bob Hubach.
Okay, awesome. Is he still alive? We should try. Maybe we can contact him.
Think he might be still alive.
It'd be really cool to get him on the podcast and talk about the design.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna move on because I think we will be here forever.
It's one of those things.
Cars. One of those things. Yep. Car guys.
Things to talk about.
Exactly. We're going. Hey, it's cool, man. That's what these podcasts are for. Okay, so another great topic you came up with: impacts of social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, on the automotive community. I think that's one of the reasons why me and you are talking right now, right?
For sure. It's been huge. The impact, and each one of those platforms for like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube have had such a unique impact on the community as well. Like with Facebook has been huge with like being able to create groups and meeting invites and stuff to be able to get more events going and meet new people. And it's just been a great way to grow the community in that aspect. And then Instagram, I'd put off getting on Instagram forever. And Doris Geel's, Ralph Geel's wife had finally, she berated me into getting onto Instagram one day. And she was like, you need to get on there. All the car stuff. And so I did. And it's great to be able to see, connect with a bunch of other people that way, see different types of cars, see what is out there. And it's just been a huge improvement. And it's been great for just connecting. Yes. And then now YouTube has just taken off. Yeah, it's insane. You get to be able to see in a visual medium all these different events and how-to videos. I can't tell you how many times when I get a new car or something, I got to do some kind of repair work on it. I'll go onto YouTube and just type in, how do I replace XYZ on this car? And just boom. There's all the videos on how to do it. You don't need to have all the old like Chilton's manuals or Motors manuals and stuff. You just go onto YouTube to find how-tos. Or if you want to get like reviews of whatever latest and greatest car is out there, you can go out there and you can find countless reviews from all the major magazine companies. And you can see all of the enthusiasts that are getting, especially now with like the C8 and the Supra. You've got like DDE and Stradman and everybody getting all these new cars, and then what are they going to do with them? And you're just curious to know how they're going to modify these cars to make them unique to their style. Right. And it's just really been eye-opening. I resisted Instagram for the longest time, but I really resisted YouTube for like forever. I had people for years telling me, get on YouTube. You need to start a YouTube channel. And I'm like, no, that's just, I don't need to be on that platform. And I didn't even have a real grasp of, from a vlogging standpoint, from the automotive community, the value of it. But after researching and stuff, finally just succumbing to the peer pressure and just looking into it, I'm just like, wow, this is a huge opportunity. And there's a huge wealth of information out there. And I can bring my experiences to this platform as well, and hopefully expand other people's interests. Right. That's so much to talk about. So Facebook, you also, that's 120%.
I don't like a lot of the stuff that has been coming out about what's been going on just because we mentioned COVID-19. Some of the stuff is very disturbing about how crazy Facebook is getting about basically deleting people's accounts because they wanted to have peaceful protest
Yeah.
about that's one aspect of it, unfortunately, that sucks. And it's just disgusting and I hate it, but I'm not going to just delete because there's, from what you just talked about, the polar opposite of that is, yeah, but look at how many groups I'm a part of. Look at how many people I've been able to contact, including yourself. It wasn't
I was
for,
gonna say, yeah, that's how we connected was through Facebook.
right. And the thing was that it was done through a related, I was looking at, I don't, somehow you popped up on my feed and I don't know how, but someone had mentioned something about it. It might have been through, I don't even remember because I was just looking through and then I saw your channel name and then I saw that you had a YouTube channel. So I went to go check out your YouTube channel. That's basically there's there's five main huge social. I don't want to count TikTok because that's like the new Instagram. That's what everybody's talking about. And
Yep.
I mean, there's fucking kids on there that are just retarded. I mean, no bullshit. They're making millions of dollars.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, how can I do this? Because I mean, I know I can do this, but I want to know how. Like, how can I fucking do this? I want to
Yep.
get into that too. But that's a whole other conversation. I'd say the main five right now, obviously, YouTube is number one because it's visual, right? And it's
Yep.
just the amount of information, like you said, you don't even need to. I mean, I'm not saying, excluding doctors and let's say maybe some finances, not even that because there's so many people that are in finance now on YouTube, but let's say doctors and lawyers and not even that because that you can look up. But pretty much all the information that you've ever needed about something, it doesn't matter what you're looking for. You now can go on YouTube and literally learn and see how to do it. A
Yeah.
lot. I mean, yesterday I was having a stupid problem with my computer. I feel so stupid about this. It was the icon logos that are on the folders were not showing up correctly. I was having a problem with I guess with the cache,
Oh yeah.
and CC Cleaner. I had downloaded a new version of it for whatever reason and messed up because I think I had to uninstall it or reinstall it. When I did that, I had checked off the cache on the folders,
Mm-hmm.
so it cleared the cache. So when I went to restart my computer, all the cache was all messed up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So what do? I go on YouTube to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
And within like a video, one to two videos, I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. And then that's it. I don't have to. I mean, the amount of money that is being saved because of the information that's being put out there for do it yourself or for just trying to get some information is you can't even put a value on it.
No, it's huge.
And for the car community, it's that times a million.
Yeah.
It's really increased, and then that goes and that just all trickles down to everything. It trickles down to Instagram. There's, like you said, there's huge amounts of people right now putting out so many amazing. I kind of feel like you with TikTok. Like I don't feel like I should even. When I first heard about TikTok, I'm like, oh my God, this is just fucking YouTube. This is just Instagram TV. It's just
Yeah.
with another name. I mean, that's and obviously a lot of people are making memes and little stupid. Some of them are funny, but it's for me, it's a little bit difficult to get into because it looks like a lot of mindless bullshit.
For sure.
And
Yep.
yeah, will it make you laugh? Yeah, fine, but I don't constantly need a stream of that shit in my life to be
Exactly.
smiling.
Yep.
But there's millions of people that unfortunately that's what they're addicted to, especially the younger crowd. People that
Yeah.
are in their, I'd say 25 and maybe under
Yep.
is one of those things, and I kind of undermine the value that you can actually. I mean, again, you have kids making millions of dollars on there.
Millions of dollars. Yeah, I read an
So
article. There was some kid. He made, I think he's like 8 or 9, maybe, and he made $23 million last year on YouTube reviewing toys.
what? Oh, you're talking,
$20
yeah. You're
True
talking about
story.
you're talking about the super famous kid that made his own brand.
Yeah,
That is, yeah.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Can you fucking believe that, man? I mean, he doesn't even know he doesn't even understand I mean, he might be what is he, like 5 or 6, 7 years old?
He's little. He's really
Trust
little.
me, it's fantastic for him and his family, but for
Absolutely.
outsiders like us looking in, I'm like, what? Like you want to kill yourself. You're like, what am I doing wrong?
Right?
What?
How did I screw this up so
Where,
bad?
where's my button life hack button? Where's my life hack button that I could press and go, wait a minute, hold on, what? A fucking kid's making $23 million reviewing toys that he makes. Now he's got his own. I want to kill myself. I want to kill myself.
Yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely. And the kid probably isn't even old enough to really understand the concept of money in the first place.
Not even
alone grasp that large amount of wealth.
Exactly, and he's there, and it's can you imagine being his parents? Fuck.
Oh yeah, it's life changing.
We have to make it. Okay, we're gonna get there. Somehow we're gonna do some shit. We're gonna work together. Me and you're gonna do some cool stuff. We're gonna do some amazing car stuff and car activities and some cool car rallies, and we're gonna get up there and we're gonna do something, and we will get there. But
absolutely, let's
not try to concentrate, because every time someone brings up that story, I'm like, yes, I know about the kid that he doesn't even have the concept of money, and he's making $23 million. Thank you for reminding me about that, so I can go now and go into a corner and want to wonder why my brain is not functioning correctly.
Exactly.
It's a mind fuck, that one. But so the impact, I think, is I don't even think you could put a number on it. It's I'd say this: if it wasn't for Facebook, okay, if it wasn't for Instagram, if it wasn't for YouTube, none of the things that I have done, none of anything that anybody has done right now for probably 15 years plus, they would have not been able to do it, period.
Yeah.
It's funny that the other day, because I mean, we all now use WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, text messaging, our phones, Skype, right? And we have all these different ways of communication. And sometimes I even have to tell someone that I'm trying to communicate, hey, look, let's just stay in one form of technology to communicate, because this is getting, like, they'll write, like, for example, the guy that I interviewed from the other YouTube channel, Justin. So first I reached out to him on Instagram, right?
Yep.
Then obviously I got his number. Then I had his text. So then we were kind of going back and forth. I'm like, hey, Justin, let's keep to one stream, man, because you're answering me on this platform. That's crazy to think about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy to think.
I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations going with one person and going through text messaging, Instagram Messenger, Facebook Messenger, all at the same time. I'm like, and then I'll catch it. I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we talking to each other through 3 different mediums at the same time?
That's how far we have, that is how far we have gone, right? Where let's go back what? Let's say 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in 2020. So in 2010, there was Facebook, right? It was Facebook, and most people didn't really use it. I mean, maybe here and there, hey, how you doing, blah, 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 but that was pretty much it. It wasn't as what it is today. Correct. You had your text messaging, which has been around since phones were made. And then you had WhatsApp, right?
Yep.
Those were kind of and WhatsApp also was an explosion of, I mean, I usually use WhatsApp for any type of media sharing.
Right.
It is without a doubt. I mean, that's why it sold for $1 billion+. Which, by the way, the guy who sold it was here in Florida. He bought a couple cars he bought a couple Lambos from Brett David Brett David is the owner of one of the biggest Lamborghini dealerships here in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he went in there. He's like, hey, Brett, how you doing? He didn't really know who he was until he knew who he was. And he's like, oh, shit, yeah, owner of WhatsApp. Okay, yeah, what cars do you want? And he ended up buying, I think he bought I believe he bought a super rare SV Aventador. He got himself a Hurricane. I think he purchased maybe 2 Aventadors, because one was an SV and the other one was a Targa. Mm-hmm. Before the Targa SV had come out. It's just, I mean, it's fucking $1 billion. But what I'm saying is that WhatsApp has really become the go-to place to share almost any type of media as fast and as efficiently as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I think back to the topic, it's what technology. We're to the point. The reason I brought the whole thing of like switching back and forth from different mediums, like you mentioned as well. That's how far we are. Where we don't just have one now. We have so many different ones that we're getting. We have to tell the person that we're trying to communicate with, like, hey, look, let's stick to one so we can keep a conversation going, and we can keep track of what we're talking about. Because if not, it's 3 different mediums. You're checking. Wait, what did he say here? Wait, you said here. You said this here. Wait, and then we have email.
Yeah.
I mean, email obviously has been around since the beginning of the internet, and that still is a major portion of it. But there's so many different ways to do it so much faster that it's hard to kind of keep track of which one you're using.
Right.
But yeah, so that's a major. I 120% agree with you. It's a major asset to the community, because it has brought everybody so far, or excuse me, so close together. Even though we're far apart, it might be on the other side of the world, but I could see your amazing on Instagram. I could see your amazing design or your amazing car or picture of whatever you're taking of. That's absolutely just, it's funny that we take all of this shit for granted so easily.
We do.
And
we really do.
I mean, if you were to take this away in one day, imagine if COVID, let's pretend that COVID wasn't a virus, and let's pretend that it would have been some type of, I don't want to say electromagnetic pulse that took everything out for a day, because that would have been a lot longer than a day. But let's just pretend that for a week, we did not have access to any of what we have right now, the communication mediums that we have access to right now.
It'd be a world changer.
Oh, yeah. We would really have like people going out of the streets, right? I mean, we would have the total breakdown of a society, of an entire country.
Sure. Yep.
Or world, if that happened, because people would really go crazy. I think the only reason people did not lose their shit is because they have the internet, because they have so many, I don't want to say Netflix, but they have let's say for me, I don't watch Netflix. I have everything that as far as video, anything has to do with video, I'm going to YouTube. Like, I don't need Netflix. If I want to watch if I want to watch a movie, which I don't believe Netflix even has that many very good movies. They do have great new content that's being pushed out there as far as episodes and documentaries and stuff like that. But again, 90% of all that stuff you can find on YouTube as well.
Right.
But John, I don't know if you noticed, Netflix, very amazing, let's say movies from the 90s, which in my opinion, some of the best movies in the world were made in the 90s. You can't find them on Netflix because they don't have the licensing, which is very weird when you think about it.
Yep.
But you can find it on YouTube.
That's true.
So you could just, and for $2 or $3, I get to watch it on YouTube. Why would I go to Netflix and pay $20 a month when I could just buy as needed, But other conversation. So I think we covered that very well. It's a world changer is what it's been for the entire community of course, the car culture, car communities. It's just been almost every single person I've ever interacted in the past probably 10 years has been through YouTube, Instagram, and any type of social media. And the one that I didn't mention is Twitter. I don't like Twitter. I don't like its restrictions. I don't like its very hardcore way of running things as far as your freedom of speech goes. Mm-hmm. Because they've been caught red-handed. And with me personally, I have 2 accounts. One of my accounts is still technically not shut down, but it's been frozen.
Oh wow.
Due to something that I said about the new Supra, which it's ridiculous. But I'm not going to bore everybody with that. It's just, we'll get into that maybe in another podcast. But it was something stupid. It was just something I said. I'm a very vocal person. I said something. Basically, I said there was a guy that had posted something about the new Supra and how how none of the new racing games, no new games have the older actually it's a Mark V Supra in their racing games anymore. And it's because Toyota, being the stupid retards that they are, and I'm gonna call them straight up, Toyota, if you're listening to this, or if you ever do listen to this, I'm sorry. Whoever made the decision and the team of people that made the decision, you're fucking idiots. Anyways, the licensing, they did not, listen to this, they did not want the licensing to go out to any type of game, any type of racing game whatsoever, or any type of game that would have their Mark V Supra being raced on the streets, like as a street racing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they won't, and even for the licensing, I think for Forza, even Forza, you can't buy, well, I don't know Forza because I don't do Xbox, but I believe Forza is the same thing. You cannot, there's no new games that have the Mark V Supra because of the fact that they want to avoid anything that has to do with anyone using that car, that amazing car that we all know, that iconic, awesome Supra that we've all learned to love from way before the Fast and Furious movies, but obviously after that it blew up. They won't use it. They won't allow the licensing to go out to the game manufacturers, because the developers, because they say that they don't want their car to be used in a malicious way. So I called them. I called one guy that mentioned that, not in a positive way. He was saying it like a bad, like this is ridiculous. And I said, I just voiced my opinion. I just said, yeah, those fucking assholes, Toyota's bunch of fucking pussies. This is bullshit. Fuck them. They're fucking retards. That's pretty much what I said. And
Yeah.
Twitter literally said, oh, no, 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 no. Hate speech. This is hate
Oh
speech.
God.
That's ridiculous.
Uh,
So, yeah, so Twitter, fuck Twitter. I don't give a shit about Twitter. It's garbage. It limits your text. It limits the way you communicate. Fuck it. I don't need it. I'm okay. I think we're all okay without Twitter.
yeah, I've never been on Twitter.
Yeah, don't get on it. That's I can tell you without a doubt. Just don't even waste your time. It's a waste of time. All right. So next topic, we are now down to our third one. Actually, that was our third one. We're down to our fourth one. So how, and this one's a good one. How car club drama can ruin the car ownership experience. That's an interesting way you put that because I think there's a couple things that we could talk about that. But you go first, John.
Yeah, it's funny. I've over the years, and I've been driving for about 20 years now, and I've used car clubs as great ways to meet new people when I move to new areas and to find people that have similar cars and stuff, similar interests. So it's a great way to meet new people. And I've made amazing friends, lifelong friends, as a result of joining different car clubs. But at the same time, there can be drama that goes with that can really turn people off. And I mean, I've met people, because for a while I was the president of the Northern California VIPER Owners Association.
That's right, you told me.
Being the president of the VIPER Club, one of the things that I did was reached out to prospective new members and stuff. If I went to a rally or a Cars and Coffee event or whatever, and there was a VIPER there and they weren't a club member, I'd talk to them and say, hey, what think about joining the club and stuff. Awesome. And I can't tell you how many times I heard people be like, oh no, I've had bad experiences with the clubs. I don't want to deal with the drama and things like that. And so there are people, and I've met people that have actually sold their cars because the drama got so bad.
What?
Yeah, no joke. I've met people that have sold their cars because the drama in the car club got so bad, it just left a nasty taste in their mouth, and it ruined the car ownership experience altogether. And they said, screw it, I'm completely done with this car. I don't want anything to do with it.
Well, and that seems on the other spectrum of a little bit crazy. That seems ridiculous. Because the thing is, I mean, I can understand that can happen, but if you're having a bad experience with a certain car club or group, okay, then you just can take yourself out of that one and go to another one. Doesn't mean you have to sell your car.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I would go so far as to say is that, was that person a real car person or a real car guy? Because I would say that person was more of a person that purchased that car to maybe gain a certain amount of recognition, and they figured, well, if I'm going to have all this drama in this one car club because of this car that I have, that seems like the type of person that would buy a car just to say that they had that car.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. That seems more likely, because that seems, I can't imagine any. I mean, I've had bad experiences with, but I would never sell my car that I chose for those specific reasons that I chose that car and say, oh, it's the car's fault. I'm going to sell the car now just so I don't have to be on the car club. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's definitely going really extreme. I mean, I've gotten to the point. I had a problem with some board members a few years ago, and as a result, I resigned. I said, I'm done.
Really.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
You got to tell me about it. I mean, if no names, but tell me what exactly what happened.
Yeah, so we had being Northern California, that covers a lot of territory. I mean, our region went from basically like Monterey all the way up to the Oregon border, and then from the coast all the way to the Nevada border. So it covered a huge area, right?
Right.
Now, most of the members, of course, lived in Silicon Valley. I mean, it was like somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 of the membership were there. And we also had a decent number of people that were in the Central Valley area, Sacramento area. Mm-hmm. And of course, they wanted to have more events up in that area. And so we tried it. I absolutely gave it a great effort to try and get events all over the northern part of the state, and went through and broke it out by how many members we had in each area and
Right.
things like that. But no matter what we did, it was never good enough for a couple for the other officers, and it was things got a little heated, to say the least.
You don't say.
It just a smidge.
Well, these guys sound like they're power tripping assholes, but keep going.
Some might say that.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
It was unfortunate. I mean, it got to the point where I was talking to the national board daily, trying to, because we were getting, I was doing email conversations and phone conversations and stuff with these particular members every day, and things just were getting worse and worse. And I was relaying those messages and stuff to the to national and trying to come up with an amicable solution, trying to dissolve the tension and stuff. And it never worked, and things just got ugly.
Sorry, John. I have to ask you, what type of issues are we talking about? Like you were setting up a certain meet or a certain group or a certain event, and they were not in agreement. No, this sucks. This is bullshit. I don't want to go with this.
They didn't. Their problem was with where the meetings were and events were located. Like, so we have, for example, we were doing bi-monthly dinner meetings.
Okay.
And we get our biggest attendance when those meetings were held in Silicon Valley, which made sense because the majority of our members were there. But to try to make it fair for all of our members, we held the dinner meetings. We rotated their locations, some in Silicon Valley, some up in the Sacramento, more towards the Sacramento area and stuff. So that way, because it could be a couple-hour drive for some members to go to these different things. And so we're trying to be cognizant of that and be respectful to people's time and energy and stuff. And so we try to move things around. But I could never do enough to get it out of Silicon Valley. And that just wouldn't have been fair to the bulk of the members.
Right. Yeah, that's not fair. That's not fair. I mean, those individuals that are having these problems and saying, "Oh yeah, you can't make something that's at least an hour from me when you're having," and I have to drive maybe 2 hours to come to the Silicon Valley group or the dinner. You know what, man? I mean, you probably said the same thing, but that's probably why you left. I would have said, "Hey, look, if you can't make everybody happy.
Yep.
If you have 100 people in your car club or your car group or any type of pretty much any group, it doesn't even have to do with cars, right? If you're making 50% happy and 50% are not happy, that's half, right? There's problems. There's a big problem.
Exactly.
But if you improve with things that you're trying to make and trying to give them leeway, and you get up to, you do another survey and you go from 50-50 to 65 or 70 or even 75, okay, that was a big chunk forward, but there might be another 15% that's able, that we could still make happy, maybe even to try to shoot for the 100. But it's impossible to do to 100.
It is.
People are, people are, man. People are assholes.
Oh, for sure.
People are just stupid.
It was definitely clear by the attendance. When we'd have, like, for example, the dinner meetings, if we had them in Silicon Valley, we would routinely get between like 30 and 45 people to attend. And if we had them outside of Silicon Valley, we'd be lucky if we got like 10 or 15 to show up.
Okay. So that's a big number. Yeah, that's
a huge delta. And so, but we'd still had them in the outlying areas to support the members that lived out there.
Right.
Because that's what we need to do. We need to be fair to all of the members.
Right.
And it just never was enough. And this went on for the good course of a summer. And I gave it my damnedest to try and resolve the situation, but it finally got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'd done a pretty good job of containing the problem to within the board, but it was getting to the point where it was boiling over, and I knew it was going to get into the membership, and I didn't want to ruin their experience for the club by this drama. And so I finally got to the point. I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to resign. You guys can get somebody else in there, and hopefully the members don't suffer from it.
That's horrible that you had to, because you seem like you're definitely a person of leadership, and it seems that they're the ones that lost out, because you don't seem at all as a person that is one single-minded and one-track minded and wasn't trying to support to make things better so everybody could have a good experience. So that seems childish. that's a fucking stupid. That seems really stupid. That seems
It's
really stupid. Like
it was
very
it was really unfortunate because the club, I love the club. To this
right.
day, I'm still a member of the national organization. I still go
Hmm.
to national events and stuff because I've met so many great people, and
Right.
throughout, and the car has been amazing. The community, for the most part, has been huge positive influence on my life and stuff, and I wouldn't have traded any of that time for the world.
Right.
And it's just a few bad eggs that just had some kind of ulterior agenda going that ruined that for me. And I thought about leaving the club altogether, but I was like, you know what, no way.
No.
I've made too many good friends. I still stay in contact with so many people,
Right.
both at the local level and at the national level, that I was still going to stay involved. And so it freed up a lot of, it turned out I was probably doing between 20 and 30 hours a week just supporting the car club. And so it freed
Wow.
up a lot of time not being involved as an officer anymore.
Right.
But
Well,
yeah, definitely
would you say,
changed.
John, sorry, would you
No
say
worries.
that but what exactly you decided to leave because you had to, I mean, what did the board keep on telling you that if they weren't happy then nobody was happy? Is that what they were trying to say? Because that
Yeah,
seems
it
ludicrous.
got to the point where they were really trying to push different agendas and stuff, and the tension was getting so high that you go to an event or whatever, and
Mhm.
if we were all there together, you could just tell that there was tension there and stuff. I mean, I tried to cover as best I could, but we got to some points where we were at certain meetings and they wouldn't even look at me or whatever, and I'm like, all right, this has got to
Get the
stop
fuck
because
out of here.
this is
That's
gonna this is just gonna really screw up the club experience
yeah.
for regular membership, and we can't have that.
Yeah, that's so the problem is, man, humans are humans.
Right.
That's the problem. It's not even the group. It's not that they're. It's just, and I've met them. I've met people like that, and that's the best thing you could do is so this is who you are. Okay, fine, not a problem. You go be that person. Way the fuck away from me because I'm done with your how the problem. I think talking about this, it's funny because I'm hoping this is something that Joe Rogan keeps on saying, and I really hope that people do gain a new found I'm maybe we're not going to see it, but hopefully the majority of people that didn't have their perspective in order, that this whole entire event, this whole COVID-19 pandemic, I hope it puts people, I really hope it grabs the perspective from their where it was in like their, I don't even want their bullshit section of their brain.
Yeah.
It took it out of there and put it right in their face and said, "Hey, really? You're gonna like this is how you're gonna act? You're a full-grown adult and you're gonna act like a fucking 5-year-old?
Yeah.
Really?" Like, I really hope that this situation has taken people their perspective and slammed it in front of their face and said, "Okay, you see how easy the entire world can change in a
In an
month?"
instant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That's how I'm looking at this too. Is just hoping that this is a good reset for people and their priorities.
yeah. I mean, I've always had my priorities. You know how it is. I mean, I'm 36. I just turned 36 this past January, and I think you're probably around the same age. And
Yep.
um,
36 last October.
okay, so we're almost right there, neck and neck. I think it's perspective, and it's funny coming from the car world because that's actually one thing that when I was growing up, one of the experience I remember, and with my memory, I have certain situations in my life that I'll never forget certain things. I remember there was this girl that was like obsessed with Britney Spears, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just completely obsessed. I mean, I'm talking about that crazy fan that you never want to meet.
Oh
This is
yeah.
her. Okay. And she in high school, I remember, I've always been a car guy. I mean, I was a car guy. I mean, my first word was car.
Nice.
Before I said mom or water or any food, I literally car was my first word. So this girl was, she knew I was like a big car guy and all this stuff. And I don't know how we even got into the conversation, but I just remember she was trying to tell me that, oh, but this is probably just a phase you're going through and you'll grow out of it. I looked at her with this face of, I mean, like a crazy, like if someone, like if you wanted to murder someone, not on purpose, but if, well, that's wrong words. I looked at her like I wanted to kill her, like I wanted to choke her right then and there. Obviously, I contained myself, and I looked at her with this face like, what? Are you out of your motherfucking mind, bitch? You know, like I just, and I didn't call her that, but I just said, what? What are you talking about? Are you fucking crazy? What are you talking about? Phase? This is not a phase. And then I just stopped myself and I said, wait, let me give her the perspective. So I go back, I go, wait a minute. And I don't remember, I think her name was Natalie or something like that. I said, Natalie, let me ask you a question. What you just told me is if I told you, Miss fucking Britney Spears, because that's literally what she was known for in the entire school, of how obsessed she was. I said, that's like if I told you that you, this Britney Spears fascination and love and passion is a phase. And she almost like her eyes lit up and she's like, what are you talking? Of course not. I said, stop. What you just told me is exactly the same thing for me in cars.
Same thing.
She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't. I'm like, yeah, you should be apologized. Walk away. Don't talk to you again. It's not. It obviously there have been some people that I think maybe they fall into that, but I don't think so. I don't think so. You're either a true hardcore car guy, girl now. You know, there's so many women that are getting into cars, which is fantastic.
Yep.
And I love it. And I just think you're either that person or you're not. You know, I don't think it's hard to say. I mean, we could argue that there are people that are in the middle, but then you can never have that title, right? Yep. You can never truly say, and you could tell the people that were kind of maybe bought into it. There's a lot of people, especially me being around a lot of supercars. I've met a lot of these supercar owners. You could tell you could tell the people that bought the car just to say they have a fucking Ferrari, a 458.
For sure.
And there's still a lot of them, but there's also now a new level of people that not only are they true hardcore car guys, or even like kids, like Stradman and what's his name, the guy from Daily Driven Exotics,
Dave and Damon.
Yeah, Damon, which I'd love to have them on the podcast as well. You know, now you have this new evolution that this didn't exist. Oh, John, have you ever met? Have you ever seen the YouTube channel Tax the Rich?
No.
Oh, after the podcast, go to YouTube, type Tax the Rich.
All right.
Enjoy yourself. It's a guy. Nobody really knows who he is. I'm sure there's someone that knows who he is. I think maybe Shmee150 might know who he is. But there's this fucking guy. I don't know who he is. He's obviously a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
He has got a ridiculous, I don't know if it's a farm or a gigantic, huge piece of property, obviously. And he has everything from Miras to F40s to Diablos to F50s. I mean, every single supercar, hypercar you could think of that you would want from every single year, he has them. Not only does he have them, he has this ranch that he's made his own personal like rally, almost like a rally cross, because it's partial. Most of it is dirt and some of it is concrete. Yeah. That he is drifting and beating the fuck out of all these cars in the most awesome ways you could think of.
Oh, damn.
It's awesome. And not only does he have, I mean, he even had, I believe he had at one point, he had an F40 LM. I mean, he has, again, I've been dying to figure out who he is to try to meet him, but most people don't. I've tried to contact people that supposedly say that they know who he is, and they've all told me, like even a person, because this is in London, by the way. I think it's in a part of London. And I have a friend of mine who has a company called Dunt Barn, who he does, transporting services for supercar and hypercar owners. He's the one that told me that nobody really knows who he is, but he knows of him. He knows who the guy is. He just doesn't know his name. He's seen him in person, but he never really revealed his identity. Yeah. So, man, and it's just that didn't exist 30 years ago.
No. Oh, I just pulled up his channel. I've seen some of his videos.
Okay, you have. Okay, so that's why I figured you might have seen at least one of his videos, because they've been out there for years.
Oh, they're crazy. I'm not going to lie, though. His Enzo WRC video, I kind of shed a tear on that one. I mean, driving an Enzo, I'd like that.
I say, fuck it, man. If it's your car, you know what? Why not? You know, what are you going to do? What's the worst you're going to do? You might put a nick here, a nick there. You know what?
It's fixable.
It's exactly. It's not, we're not on here. We are not on this earth forever. And
nope.
There's different categories of everything. And I I don't really. I'll tell you this: a person who is the person that's the opposite end of him, like the polar opposite, who's the guy that puts his entire collection in those air bubbles, the
Yeah.
capsulated air bubble. You know what? I'm sorry. That's not what car ownership is supposed to be. That's definitely
Yep.
not what car ownership is supposed to be. If you're not out driving these cars, enjoying them for what they were literally
Built
engineered
for-
to do,
Yeah,
right? They're all cars.
they are.
Yes, a 250 GTO is worth $74 million today, and a Celica, you can get a used Celica for fucking $500, or a Toyota, whatever. You can get a $500 car. They're both vehicles that were meant to be driven.
For sure.
So in my opinion, anybody who does the polar opposite of that, I'm sorry, I don't want to be your friend.
I hear
I don't
you.
want to. I don't want to have anything to do with that person, even though I respect what they do. Hey, good. I'm glad you have them in these air bubbles, and they're going to be encapsulated, and they're not going to see air. They're not going to touch normal breathable air because they have their own air. I mean, they have their own ventilation system. What's the point of that? What is the point? Just to stare at them and go, look how beautiful it is. Imagine how amazing it is to drive. It's
Exactly.
I don't I can't but that's something that has changed because there was a lot of, I'd say 30, 40 years ago, there was a lot of people that were, I think we had a lot more of that going on than we did of what we have going on today. And I think YouTube is a big part of that because they've realized, oh, wait a minute, I have this ridiculous, insane collection. I do have a certain amount of supercars, hypercars, or even just sports cars, whatever. And what am I doing with them? I'm not doing anything with them. But now I have this medium where, I could have someone come over, do a professional shoot. And hey, if I'm a crazy guy like the guy from Texas Rich, which I totally think he's the badass, and treat him the way that he is, hey, it's his right. He has his right to do whatever he wants with his cars. And I think he's using it for a good use, and he's providing the other level of, of that other person, of that type of person that is. Because I would say that I have spoken to a couple of people that I've had this conversation with. Personally, I was on the phone with one of them just a month ago. The guy owns an Enzo, just talking about Enzos. And you know what he's done with his Enzo?
Huh.
Nothing. The engine in his Enzo, is not in the car. It's sitting on an engine stand outside the car. And I had a conversation. I say, dude, what? And this is something recent. I didn't even know he was like that. I thought he was, because usually I've invited him to a couple of my car shows. He said he was going to come. He has yet to come, but he always, he's also a dad, this, that, whatever. So I understand, time is of the essence. I get it. We'll go to the next one whenever you have time. But I did not think he was that type of person. And I'm like, dude, wait, you did what? What? You took the engine out of the car? He says, yeah, man, right now I'm one of the only people in the world that has the lowest mileage Enzo. So I figured, you know what? Fuck it. Let me just take the engine out of the car. I'll put it on an engine stand. That will, for sure, 120. I mean, I could prove that engine, that car has not shred more than, I think it's like 30 or 40. Maybe it's a little bit more than that, but it's under 100 miles. Because he told me it's like one of the lowest mileage Endos.
Wow.
And I'm like, what are you getting out of that, man? He's like, well, maybe especially now in the next couple years, I might be able to put it up for sale and I'm going to make a major profit on it. I'm like, yeah, dude, but you make so much money anyways. What the fuck is the difference? Like, what, you didn't buy the Enzo. You didn't buy it as an investment. Like, he used to drive it.
Yeah.
So I don't, that's a conversation that obviously, and look, same argument with the tax the rich guy, right? Hey, he bought the car. He can do whatever the fuck he wants with it. But I don't know, John. I think it's a waste of. If you're that guy, then you know what? Pick something else. Pick a different passion. Pick a different love.
Yep.
Because that's not what all cars are.
They're meant to be driven.
They're meant to get on the road.
Yep.
And that's when they give you. That's kind of how they express what they are and what they're about.
Absolutely.
Like a person.
Even the 250 GTO, great example. I mean, in February, there was a Cars and Coffee event. I missed out on this one because I was down in LA at the Peterson Museum for a Ferrari event down there. And there's a person up here in the Bay Area who's got a huge car collection, has a 250 GTO, and he drove it from his place down to Menlo Park for a Cars and Coffee event.
Nice. See, that's
right?
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's this video online. I think they might have posted on their Instagram where he's going down the road, down the, I think it was 280, and he's driving this 250 GTO next to a Shelby Cobra, which I would assume was an original real Shelby Cobra as well.
Oh, for sure, without a doubt. If it was a that seat, that's and you see and when you see that and that gets filmed and get, I mean, that's just that's timeless. It's
It is.
priceless to see something like that.
It was absolutely amazing to watch.
Wow.
I just wish I could be there in person.
And so you missed out on it. You weren't there because you were at the Vegas show.
I was down. Yeah, I was down at the Peterson Museum for. They were
Peterson
celebrating Enzo's birthday, and as a consolation, I watched 4 F40s drive in together.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Was any of them?
What was that?
Was any of them an F40 LM or they were all F40s?
They were all just F40s.
Nice.
But still,
Amazing.
4 F40s rolling together, and then on top of that, Bruce Myers drove in a 1957 250 Testarossa.
Wow. That's
And
super rare. Those are super rare.
Yeah, and I think he said that it was the winningest Ferrari of all time. This one car that he had.
It had been raced that many times that he had won that many championships.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, they had to have besides the F40s and the 250, they have I'm sorry, the Testarossa. They had to have had a couple of Enzos, right? They had to at least like an FX.
No, I was shocked. There were no Enzos. I don't think they had any F50s. They did have a LaFerrari there.
Okay, at least that. Shit.
It was. They had a crap load of cars. They filled their entire top floor of the museum parking garage with all Ferraris and all generations. From the 50s all the way up to the F8 Tributo.
Yeah, that's fucking wow. But the fact they had no Enzo, I mean, and I don't particularly. I have to say something about the Enzo. That is actually my least favorite. Yeah, it is. I think it's in my opinion, I think it's one of the ugliest Ferraris ever made. That's my opinion. It might be a little harsh, but the designer of that car, because if you compare it, okay, like if you put it in the middle of an F40 and an F50, okay, the Enzo just doesn't make sense. It's so square. It almost looks Japanese if you think about it. It almost looks like a GTR-esque, like super blocky and. Right. I don't know. When it came out, I was like, okay, it's an Enzo. I liked it more for its engineering. You know, it's what it was as far as the new hypercar that Ferrari had come up with. Yeah. But when I first saw it, man, I was like, I don't like it. I never thought it was a beautiful, sexy, gorgeous Ferrari. Mm-hmm. You know, all other people can have their opinions, but in my opinion, I don't know. It was one of those cars that I looked at. I mean, again, comparing it along the lines of the F50 and the F40, it just was a complete opposite of what I was expecting, and I never liked it.
You know, the F50 gets the most hate.
I know that, and I don't know why, because I think it's the most beautiful.
I know, amazing car. I have a friend of mine. She's big into Ferrari. I actually met her through doing Ferrari stuff, and the F40 is the ultimate for her, right? And I give her a hard time all the time about the F50 and telling her it's a much better looking car.
F50 all day. Well, I'll tell you this. If you told me right now which one would I have to only have, I could not make a decision. I'd have to have both F50 and F40.
Yeah.
But the F40 obviously is a car of its time, the 90s car.
It is.
The 90s. Yep. But it's amazing how still today it still looks that amazing.
Yeah.
And that goes for the F50. Now, if you look at the Enzo, it's out of place. It just doesn't. But the F50 for me, man, if you told me right now, choose F40, F50, I'd have to go with the F50 for
Agreed.
Two reasons. One is the V10.
Mm-hmm.
The V10 that literally came out of a Formula One car and got bolted into the street car. Second is because the engine is not bolted to. It's not. I don't know if you know this. The engine. Well, I'm sure you know this. The engine is part of the chassis.
Yes.
Just like a Formula One car.
Yep.
That's it. I'm sold. That plus the way it looks. I think and I grew up playing Need for Speed games, and dude, that was like the one car that was like the pinnacle. Like, oh my god, the F50. And I have such memories of that car, and I've seen the car in person. I have sat inside of it. I've never driven one, but I know that if I did, I would go crazy. I think it's one of the most raw hypercars that they did, just like the F40. See, the Enzo, that's why, again, the Enzo was, they didn't do that with the Enzo. The Enzo now had an electronic diff. There was a lot of new race technology that was put into the car to make it very drivable. And that's fantastic. That's good for people that don't know how to drive. But I've been racing cars my entire life. I want the most raw version, no assist whatsoever, no traction control, no nothing. And that's why I think I gravitate more to the F40 and the F50 than I do the Enzo.
I can understand that.
Besides the fact that I just think it's butt ugly. I'm sorry. I do not like the Enzo, man. I don't like it. And you could get me sitting inside of it and I'm okay. But the second I get out of the car and I look, I'm like, oh fuck, I just came out. No, thank you. I can't do it. But so that's one of those things that but that's awesome, man, that you got to be part of that. That's pretty amazing. And what car does your friend have?
So that friend, she doesn't have any Ferraris. We were both working a Ferrari 70th anniversary rally together. That's where we had met.
Okay.
And she was working for a dealership at the time.
Okay, awesome. So she had obviously some knowledge of difference of cars.
She knows her cars really well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's something I wanted to cover too, but since we have, maybe we'll cover that on another. Well, we could just mention it, and we kind of did already. I think it's amazing, and it probably goes along to what we talked about with social media. I find it amazing. So many women now and girls have been finally not only just getting into cars, but becoming true hardcore car enthusiasts.
Mm-hmm.
I find that amazing because it's really brought this new level of understanding, this new level of relationship with women being, well, you know how it is now. I mean, with women, women have really taken, I don't know what the fuck these feminists are talking about, because let me tell you, women has taken over everything.
For sure.
Women are everywhere now,
They are.
They're in every aspect of business. They're in sports. They're in every aspect of sport. 30 years ago, there was no such thing as a sports announcer for any sport, especially football, baseball, basketball. With women, that didn't exist.
Yep.
They're all there now. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, I don't know what the fuck these feminists keep on bitching about. It's like, you guys are everywhere now. What are you talking about?
Yep.
And women have a power that I don't think any other, that most men can't attain, which is, they have. I mean, if they go full, if they really know their stuff, right? They really get into what, and they're being passionate. It's not like they're just getting into it just because they want to. I want to buy a Ferrari. No, like there's been, I think, a shift of the same love and passion that car guys have been growing up with since cars existed, that has shifted into women understanding the entire industry, women understanding how much fun it could be, women understanding the love and passion that comes with owning any type of high performance car, and understanding that you can make it your own, and it's all about expression and being able to put your love and passion for something into an art form that is what we call the car world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been amazing. My wife, she loves cars. She drives a Scat Pack 392 Charger.
Oh, fucking awesome!
Right? She helps me do restoration work on the classic stuff. She builds engines and stuff. She gets in there, gets her hands dirty, and so the passion's definitely there with her. Like you said, there's been a huge increase in the automotive industry with women. A great example is Ben Sloss's wife, Christine Sloss.
Okay.
If you don't know, he is an executive at Google and has an amazing collection of cars, especially Ferraris. And both him and his wife race in the Ferrari FXX program. She has a LaFerrari FXX, and he has a 599.
What? Oh, dude, you know what? I met a guy with a GT3 RS. He actually showed me their Instagram. You're right. Yes. Now that holy shit.
Because Race Wife, I think it is, and then his is Wyoming 65. Yeah.
Yes.
They do awesome. They're just crushing it out there. And then another one on Netflix, there was that fastest car show or whatever that they did, where you had like drag racing with like 3 sleepers and a supercar or whatever. Yes. There was a woman on there, I can't remember her name, but she went out there with her Ferrari, but she also races in the Ferrari Challenge Series as well.
Wow. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a huge turn seeing all these women start to really take off in the automotive industry. And even during like Monterey Car Week, they have an event in the middle of the week called the Prancing Ponies Car Show, and it's in order to enter your car, you have to be it's your car has to be you have to be a woman, and your car has to be registered in your name. And it's great.
That's
And
awesome.
they're trying, and their whole thing is they want to emphasize that women are being successful, and they love cars, and they have a passion for cars, and they're sharing that passion, and it's awesome. And then I have another friend, him and his wife both have a huge collection of like Hemi Cudas and stuff, and she's big into the car scene as well, and she's out there with him at all the car shows and stuff, and they go to all these events, and the passion is absolutely there with the women, and it's great to see that they're coming out more.
Yeah, it's I think it's opened up a whole new dimension of being able to, you know, what it is to be a car enthusiast. It was always, because here, I mean, I grew up in the 90s, obviously, and so did you. And when we heard, like, here in Miami, I mean, if you heard of a girl that was into cars, it was like, oh my God, I need to make her my wife now. Where is she? Like, how? Where is she married? Does she have kids? You know, like, it was a very rare thing. And it was just obviously for a person that's in that, you know, car guys like us, it's like, holy shit, you hear of a girl that's actually a real car girl. It's the fucking most, first of all, it's such an attraction. It becomes such an attraction because it's like, wait a minute, you now have found the opposite sex who, you know, in your mind, if she's like a real car enthusiast, it has to do with the relation of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that person now can connect with you at your level, and it's just super amazing.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I mean, I couldn't imagine if my wife wasn't as involved in the car scene as she is. I mean, we literally, all the events we go together. I'm like, when we go down to Monterey Car Week, or we go to the drag races, we go to like the SEMA show, I mean, all this stuff, she's right there with me.
That's amazing. It only creates that much of a stronger relationship with your partner, which is why I think it's one of the coolest things that again, it's opened up into that new level. And let me tell you, some of them, I mean, my girlfriend's the same way. My girlfriend, when we met, you know, she told me that she loved cars as well, and she actually has racing. It's pretty amazing because she never has really had professional racing experience until now, because we have not had the money. But I told her the second things start moving, one of my objectives with her is to get her on the racetrack, I wanted to get her into a specific race series, maybe obviously amateur first, but I watched her, you know, like me and her, we've done a lot of rallies and stuff like that. And I've seen, you know, a lot of what she can do, and she has the racing gene.
That's awesome.
Has that. There's that's another thing we should have covered, but that'll be another podcast. So that'll be another 3 hours. But that was, which, by the way, we've been talking for 2 hours on that, almost 46 minutes, which is amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, we were just started talking 20 minutes ago. But she's totally, I mean, she's crazy about cars. The thing with her, she needs to learn a lot more. She really needs to know. She obviously knows the difference between a Lambo and a Ferrari and a Porsche, but when you start getting into specifics, Turbo S, Turbo, you know, 458, 48, that's the thing that I've been trying to teach her. But hey, it's one of those things that it opens up another level of the relationship where you could interact with that other person, and they can learn from you and vice versa. And it's amazing. It only makes things stronger.
Yep.
So that's that's awesome, man. So we covered all of your topics. I'm gonna go through my topics real quick, but I think we kind of covered them in all the stuff that we spoke about. So the question, my first topic was how you came to the decision to purchase your second Viper and the history of your ownership. I think we kind of went over a little bit of your ownership. So if you want to cover just the decision of how did that even come about for you to make that decision of like, okay, I'm going to get a second gen Viper because of why?
Yeah. So when the car came out, when the 96 came out, I was 12, 13 years old. And so I was just blown away by this beautiful blue and white racing stripe car. Yes. And my dad took me down to our local Dodge dealership, and because they had one. And seeing it in person back then, when the car was brand new, I was just in awe, and the car was mind blowing. Right. And I knew that one day I was going to own one of those cars. And I mean, I bought model kits, and I had a poster on my wall of that car, which, by the way, that poster is now hanging up in my garage.
Nice.
And so I always knew that I was going to own a 96 GTS. And I mean, there was even a TV series, Viper, that came out back in the 90s. And I watched that show
Oh, dude, yes. That was
right?
one of the dude. I remember. I was the same, almost same. You're the same age. That
Yep.
was the show, and that was here. Remember, that was here in Miami.
Yeah.
So I was freaking the fuck out. I was like, "Oh my god, they're gonna make a show over this car, dude." I was the same way, same exact way. I used to love that show. I used to love the show, not for the show because the show was horrible, but the actually, the show wasn't that bad. It was kind of I think we can all agree they were trying to bring back Knight Rider and and make it the Viper, and I found that was I loved it. It was awesome.
It was so great. I mean, I went as far as that one of the cars that was used in the TV show came up for auction at Monterey like 10 years ago or whatever it was, and I went down there just to see that car at the auction.
Right. And was it the silver concept? Because they had a concept model. It was that one?
It was the silver one.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
The TV show. Yeah, the Defender mode.
Yes. How much did it go for?
It didn't sell. I think they wanted almost 300,000 for it. I think it got close to like 200,000, I want to say.
Well, that's not bad.
Right?
That's not bad, but I would have paid a lot more.
Yeah, same here. And so it was crazy. And so I always knew I had to have a Viper. And so I bought my first one in beginning of 2011, and it was an 01 ACR. And it was the same body style, but it was a midnight blue, and it was in my budget, so that's why I was able to buy it. But I always knew that I eventually wanted to get the 96, and so unfortunately I did wreck the ACR and totaled it. And by that point, it was crazy. I was coming around. I was up in the mountains, coming around a decreasing radius corner on an off camber turn, and there was gravel in the road. Just a perfect storm, right? And the back end kicked out, and there was a tree not even 2 feet off the pavement, and I just hit it right at the driver's door jam, or the passenger's door jam. Sorry. And the
frame was fucked.
No, surprisingly, it wasn't. I mean, I drove the car home.
Wow. Okay.
It was the first thing, but the parts were so stupid expensive. I actually broke the trunk tub, and the trunk tub itself was a $10,000 part.
That's ridiculous. Because it was part of the monocoque? Is that because it was?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Wow. And so the total repair cost in it was going to be like $45,000.
Yeah, which is more than you paid for the car almost.
It was more. So I got the killer deal on the car. So it was way more than the damage was way more than what I paid for the car.
Right.
And so when they totaled it out, I ended up getting way more for the car than what I had paid for it originally years before. And so I was like, I've got enough money to go buy a 96.
Exactly. I've got more money.
Right. And so I was like, I was making more money too at the time. And so I was like, I'm going to buy my dream 96. Awesome. And so that's what I did. I searched the nation for it. And luckily, being in the Viper Club and stuff, I had a lot of connections and was able to find the car that I've got. And it was so rewarding to be able to finally buy that dream 96 that I've been dreaming about since it first came out in the mid 90s. Sure.
And what was the mileage? What mileage did you get the car with?
So when I bought the car, it had 13,000 miles on it.
Okay.
And so it was in impeccable showroom condition.
Yeah. Brand new car.
Brand new car. And now it's got, I think, 43,000 miles on it.
Wow.
So I've had it for how long? I've had it for 6 years now. So I've been putting about 5,000 miles a year on it.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. You're driving it.
Yep.
It's not a garage queen. But damn, so the man, and by the way, anybody that's listening to this that might be not our age and is like, what, Viper? What? They made a TV show? Yes. They, in the 90s, which was fucking awesome. Basically, whoever was I kind of looked up the information. So the first episode date was January 2nd, 1994. The final episode date. So it actually went for
2 seasons.
Yeah, well, no, a couple of years. It went, from 94 to 99, May 22nd, May 99. So that's not bad. That's actually, I thought it only was on for one season, but it was, it went on for a little bit. Basically, what they were trying to do was, capture what the Knight Rider show had done in the 80s. And I don't remember exactly what it was, because I remember this. imagine, this is how much this was burnt into my memory. The day from what I remember, the day that I found out that the show was going to be coming out, I was still not living here. Me and my mom were here in Miami because we were traveling back and forth from Venezuela, Caracas.
Yeah.
And we were here in Miami. And my mom was dating some guy that actually was really funny. He looked like a half-bald version of James Dean, which was really, 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 really funny. Not James Dean. I'm sorry. What's his name? Oh my God, what am I smoking? The famous race car driver that had the Porsche 550 Spider, who was also a movie star.
Oh.
Man, what the hell was his name? He was in Le Mans. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to Google this.
I'm drawing a blank.
So this is so bad. I can't believe this. I want to smack myself for not knowing this. Hold on. Le Mans movie 1966.
Was it Steve McQueen?
Steve McQueen. There we go. Thank you. Holy shit. How did I not remember? That's ridiculous. Okay, so Steve McQueen. So he literally looked, I swear to you, he looked like a half-ball version of him. Anyways, we were kind of hanging out at his house, and the show was going to come on, but we were already going back to our hotel. So I was telling my mom, Mom, you understand the show's coming on at 9? I think it was 9 or 8 o'clock at night. Like, you have to get to the hotel room. I have to watch the show. It's fucking awesome. It's about the Viper. And, I was going crazy. And I was like, all right, calm down. We'll make it. Relax. And I was just so excited. And I watched the first episode from the hotel. I was so, like, I couldn't believe they were going to make basically a Knight Rider, which I had also watched when I was a kid. But with the Viper, which was, again, same thing that you had going on, that it was just that car that just, like, holy shit, it was amazing.
Yep.
But yeah, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad at all. If you go back and watch the reruns on YouTube, it really wasn't that bad. And they had that, they had that thing where that version of it where it would turn into the I think it was called, you said it was the Defender, right? When it would turn into like the defense, it kind of did like a Batmobile thing where it was like bulletproof. And dude, I love that fucking show. It was great.
It was cool.
It was a very cool show. They should bring that shit back. They need to, someone, I wish we could do it. I think we should somehow try to find a way to make something similar, but not make it as, and I know that's the problem, is the production cost. That's really what it comes down to.
Right.
Is how expensive these things can be.
Yep.
But yeah, they if you really think about it, there hasn't been a show since, and there really isn't that many good shows whatsoever at all as far as like car related or car oriented shows. It's because most people today like garbage.
Yep. The closest I got right now is Magnum PI with the 488 Spider.
Oh yeah, the new Magnum PI, yeah, for sure. That they rebooted that as well. So that was another one example, which was, I didn't even watch it yet. I haven't even watched it, and I think they made but they were gonna make a movie as well, right? They were gonna make they were gonna make a show, or was it a movie for Magnum PI? I think it was gonna be another movie. They were gonna make it into a movie.
Were they gonna make it in a movie? I know, because the show's going on right now.
Oh, it is. Okay. So it was a show. It was a show.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm looking at some poster pictures of the car with the Defender mode. Dude, he was sick. They made that whole new front end with the lights.
Yeah.
They brought the light all the way down. I'm looking at they should bring this show back.
They should.
They should bring this show back with the Gen 5. That would be
Oh, that'd be incredible.
That would be awesome. That would be really cool. Yeah, this was, and if you look at that picture as well, man, it has that wrapping around effect with the it almost, dude, if you look at it, if you cover the front whole portion of the hood, it almost looks like a Koenigsegg.
Yeah.
It's like they almost had that envision.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why now I look at a Koenigsegg a little bit differently. But dude, and I have to ask you something, John, because since you had the first gen. The first gen was what year was the first gen that you had?
So first gen Vipers was 92 to 95.
Right, and yours was
So I had a 2001, and then now the 96.
Okay, so you went backwards. You had an 01 and then okay.
And I got to say, it was a bit of a step backwards too, because by 01 was the first year of anti-lock disc brakes.
Okay.
And so,
holy shit, they didn't have anti-lock.
No,
first...
they did. The brakes were trash.
That's not good. So that's why most people do the conversion from the second gen, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to. I mean, fuck, it didn't have anti-lock brake. That was a stupid decision. I don't know who the hell made that decision, but that was not smart. I mean, we're in the 90s here, like fucking Corollas and Toyotas and prices have fucking analog. I mean, that was I don't know who the hell. I mean, why would they even have decided? Was it a weight reduction type of thing that they figured that might they just thought that might be a plus by not putting an analog braking system?
It might have been early on because I know, like, for the most part, everything on that thing was purpose built to make it go faster. Like, the reason it had power windows on the second gen car was because the power window mechanism was lighter weight than a roll-up window mechanism. That's the only reason.
Wow. You figured it'd be the other way around.
That's what I would have thought too. But yeah, no, the power mechanism ended up being a lighter system.
Wow. And what other differences did you notice going from the 01 to the 96?
So there were some changes in some of the like the dash. The newer the 01 had a grain texture dash where the 96 has a smooth dash. Okay. The 96 has manual adjusted mirrors. Like I actually have to stick my hand out the window and touch the glass to adjust the mirror. Where the 2001 had they were power adjustable from inside the car.
Right.
So those.
What about
the major differences?
I have to ask you the side exhaust. Do not put your leg 5 feet from this exhaust because your skin will be melted.
Yep.
What was the warning?
So that continued on because even though on the second generation cars the exhaust was routed through the back, it actually routed through the rocker panels because there was no room along the transmission tunnel to go through it. So my 96 and my 01, they have warning decals in the rocker panel when you open the door that say caution, it gets hot.
It gets hot and don't put your leg here.
Exactly. You will burn yourself.
Oh yeah. It's just like burning yourself on the exhaust of a motorcycle pipe. It's, exhaust. Same exact thing. That's crazy. Yeah, and they transferred. So that was all the way to Gen 4. I think they removed the label, right? For Gen 5 doesn't have that. The Gen 5.
I'm not sure if it has the label or not. I know they went back to the side exit exhaust, but they may have insulated it better. So then you're telling me your 01 was actually routed through the back, but it was but it still had the side exhaust though. Yeah, so the way it works is the headers come off the engine, go behind the front wheels, out to the rocker panel, go through the rocker panel, get back to the rear wheels, cut into the center of the car, and then go over the axle and out the rear fascia. So, but then what was the point of the side exhaust? It was just like was it like a venting system for the exhaust? So there on the Gen 2s it didn't exit through the side, just the Gen 1s did. Oh, so Gen 2 you don't have side. Oh, you're right. What am I smoking? Okay. I don't know why there was so no Gen 2 ever had side exhaust. No. If you ever see a Gen 2 with side exhaust, someone converted. It's because they modified it. Parts. Yeah. Got you. That's probably why, because I was saying I've seen a second gen, but they modified it. They and they did that on. You're saying they did that on purpose to try to move the weight distribution as far as the exhaust went? They physically just didn't have room on the inside of the car to be able to route the exhaust any other way. Okay. Oh, another thing I did not know. Yeah, because if you actually put the car in the air and look at the underneath, it's totally flat on the underside of the car. Right. Yeah. And so there's just nowhere for the exhaust to go. Right. Yeah, I'm looking at one right now just to Google it, and it says VIPER Association, Owners Association. There's a red car with, I believe, it's got the side exhaust on there. So, but it's such a fucking awesome, cool-looking car, man. And so yours is blue with the white stripes. Yep, the iconic image. Yes, exactly. There was that's the only color I wanted a Gen 2 VIPER in. And yours is not a GTS though. It is. Oh, it is a GTS. Okay. It is a GTS. Yep, it's the first year of the GTS. And the differences were slight, right? It had to do with suspension. I know the suspension was one of them. I think maybe a couple of horsepower, like 10, 20 horsepower on top from the Gen 1 to the Gen 2? Well, no, Gen 2, but GTS to non-GTS. Oh, so with the Gen 2s, you had your RT10 Roadster. They continued that body style, and then you had the GTS. Mm-hmm. And then the late from 99 to 2002, they added the ACR package on top of the GTS. Right. And then when they went to the ACR package, they bumped up the horsepower an additional 10 horsepower to 460 by changing out the intake tubes. Okay. and then they also went and put in different coilovers for the suspension.
Right. So the GTS from the factory had it did have a different suspension, and did it have anything as far as like horsepower wise? Was there wasn't too much? It was a very small gap, right?
Yeah, it's very small. Yeah.
Like, and was it anything else? The GTS didn't have anything besides suspension, and I think it was the rear spoiler, or that was integrated in the body of the car.
Yep, the ducktail spoiler.
Right. That was it. No more aerodynamics. Like the front, I think, was the same.
Yep.
As the non-GTS, and I think the wheels were still the 18s.
The wheels were still the same, yeah.
Yeah, wheels were the same.
The 18s were added in 99. So 96, 97, and 98 had 17s.
17s, okay. So yours is a 17.
Yep.
Yeah, 17s. Cool. And the brakes were the only issue. Then I guess that would be the only thing you'd want to modify if you purchased a Gen 2.
That's the big thing you want to upgrade. It's got a Brembo 4-piston caliper on the front, but it's got a cast iron single piston on the rear that I think is from the Dodge Dakota.
That's ridiculous.
And the non-ABS cars had a tendency to lock up the right front wheel because the weight balance when you under heavy braking conditions.
That was the video. There was a video that went viral before YouTube even. That was the one where that guy's following a Ferrari. I think it's either a 430 or no, it's a 360.
355.
Or a 355, yeah.
And he goes off the cliff.
And he goes off the fucking cliff, dude.
Yep.
And that's what that was from him locking up. Because I was like, I kept on watching the video. I'm like, dude, he barely got on it. Like it looked like it. I thought that the brakes had completely, that the hydraulic system had took shit. And there was a couple of cars on the track that people were racing at. I don't remember if it was Gen 2. I want to remember. I think it was Generation 2. I don't know what year it was. But there were a couple cars that actually were having brake failure, complete brake failure.
It happens.
And that was what, from like probably overheat. Well, obviously it's an anti-lock braking system. How much more raw can a braking system get? I mean, yeah, that was ridiculous. I saw a couple of, and I remember the one guy that I think the first guy that did that, he was trying to sue Dodge for, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of money, which was kind of stupid. It's like, hey, you're on a racetrack. You can't sue anybody for anything. Okay?
Yeah.
On a fucking racetrack. Like,
right?
Don't be stupid.
Exactly.
But okay, so you did the brakes, and then what brakes did you go with, by the way? What upgrade?
So I haven't. I've been torn between two different systems, and I haven't actually pulled the trigger yet on doing it. I need to, but my indecisiveness has been causing my delay. So the one kit is Stop Tech makes a 4-wheel kit that puts a 4-piston caliper on the front and the rear and allows you to retain the stock 17-inch wheels, which I really like.
Okay.
And then the other one that I've actually got the brackets to do this one. It utilizes the rear Brembo caliper off of a CTSV Cadillac, or I think it's the ZL1 Camaro. And what's nice about those kits is, one, you can also retain the stock 17-inch wheels, but it is biased properly to match the fronts as well as the existing braking setup, so that way you don't have to add an inline proportioning valve to adjust the bias to the rear.
Right.
Because a lot of the kits out there, you have to add a proportioning valve to readjust the brake bias.
Correct. And that's not an easy thing to do in the first place. So so that would eliminate a lot more modifying as far as the brake bias itself, where you could actually, be very confident that when you press on those brakes that they're all evenly being distributed how they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So so then that seems like a pretty clear decision. What's your what would you say is your determining factor in choosing one over the other?
So they both have their pros and cons. And the nice thing about the kit, because I've already got the brackets, like I mentioned, for the other Brembo brake calipers from the GM side. I've got those caliper brackets. I just need to get the calipers. And then the hard part, not really a hard part, it's just time consuming, is I need to dismantle the calipers, both the existing stock front ones that are on there, as well as the new ones, and have them sent out and repowder coated to whatever color that I want, and then reinstall them all. So it's not that big of a deal, but I do have to take the car down at that point, because I got to take the calipers and send them out, the front ones that are already on the car. The Stop Techs are nice because I can just swap the parts out. I don't have to have the car down for any length of time other than the time to do the install. Right. But it's a lot more expensive. So it's probably going to cost me a couple of grand to do the kit with the GM calipers, and it's about $4,500, I think, for the Stop Tech kit. So I just have to get off my butt and decide which one I want to go with.
That's a little bit, though. It's not cheap.
It is definitely an expense. It is cheaper than the two other alternatives that are very prominent out there. Brembo offers a 6-piston front, 4-piston rear, and StopTech does also offer a 6-piston front, 4-piston rear. Those kits are usually somewhere between like $7,000 and $9,000, so they're a lot more. But you can't run the stock 17s anymore. You have to go to at least an 18-inch wheel because the rotors and calipers are so massive.
Right. And you're trying to stay with a 17, obviously.
For now, yeah. At least have the option to put the stock 17s back on.
Right. Yeah, I have had several experiences, like braking experiences, where I would never, and this is just me, I would never, and I know StopTech, I know that they're a rival of Brembo, but you can't really go wrong with, I mean, they've been around for a long time. It's just that at that point, at that point, you're talking about a name. But just as far as like the name, I had a 2001. I had 2 Salines, by the way. I had 99 Saline that was non-supercharged and a 2001 Saline. Very fun cars. Both bright, super yellow. One was zinc yellow. The other was canary yellow. Both of them were really fun cars. I will never buy a yellow car my entire life ever again. Fuck yellow. It's the worst. But I mean, it's just, and I'll tell you what. There's 3 things I can't stand about yellow.
All right.
First of all. And it's not about the stupid jokes. Oh, taxi driver. Oh, fucking yellow. What's his name? Big Bird. No, fuck all that. It's all stupid shit. Who cares about that? It really is. It comes down to these 3 things. First of all, it didn't matter if I was doing 100 million miles per hour or if I was doing a mile per hour. Every cop in his head, I was going 1,000 miles per hour.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't matter what I was doing. And I literally would get stopped on a constant basis. Now, this is also me. I do drive like a fucking maniac everywhere, but I wasn't driving everywhere like that either. I was, taking it easy in some places where I knew there was cops. And even then, that's what pissed me off about it, that I was being extra careful to be doing the speed limit or under. And to them, it did not matter. I was speeding because of my color. It just came down to yellow. Second, a huge gripe that I hated about yellow. It looks fantastic when it was clean, obviously. And it was only clean for about 5 seconds.
Yep.
Because yellow is just as bad as white. It will never be clean. It's only clean the day you buy the car and the day you sell it.
Yep.
So that was my gripe. And then my third, I would say, was... Actually, I don't have a third. It was only those 2. And those 2 almost, they kind of extended into like a third one because it was just those 2 were so big, Yeah. Super fun. I had some of the best memories in both those cars. But I let me tell you, if I would have had the yellow car, both yellow car or whatever, that color, with any of the cars that I had after that, I would probably not be talking to you right now because I'd be in jail for the rest of my life for speeding, whatever. I mean, I'm joking, I'm being exaggerated. But yellow is a very interesting color to own, but trust me, once you own it, and it probably depends on state. Down here in Miami, cops are fucking assholes here. I mean, they're really bad over here. So that probably has something to do with it as well. But after that, I got a Mystic 04 Cobra, which was fantabulous. I mean, that color, man.
Oh,
you want to talk, dude? You want to talk about a color that will never get old?
That color.
It's that color. Every time I took the cover off, it was that you got that feeling that you get when it's your first, like when first month or first couple months of owning a car and you don't drive it that much and you take the cover off and you're like. Yes, like it's that good positive feeling you get from seeing the color itself.
Yep.
It never rubbed off, ever. It's fantastic. Only problem with that color was that if you got, I don't know if you know this, but if you got a little scratch, and I'm talking about not even a 1/4-inch scratch on
you're screwed.
You're fucked. You have to paint the whole car.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
that
not
paint,
cheap.
No, it was not. It was $1,000 per pint.
Yeah.
So what I did was when I purchased color, knowing that problem that it had, and the reason being, very interesting fact, the reason that you had to paint the whole car was not because it was a stupid reason, and it makes a lot of sense. The car obviously was being painted at the factory with a machine.
Yep.
Because of its color changing ability, no human on the face of this planet, I don't care if you're 3M or if you're House of Colors, which by the way, they were the ones that actually made the color. You could be House of Colors. You could be the best body restore paint person on the face of the planet. Because it was made by a machine, no one could ever be as perfect to do the proper the what's it called, the not the molding, the mixing, when you're trying to blending, that's the word I was trying to find. No human could ever blend the color, that section of paint, for it to properly do the color change it had to do smoothly.
Exactly.
So the first time that it got scratched, that was it. You had to paint the whole car. So I actually purposely had gotten the color insured for $10,000, which is roughly around what it would cost if you had to paint the whole car, because of how expensive the whole, the amount of paint that would have to get ordered. The other thing that nobody knows about this color, which is fucking crazy unless you own one, is that you had to show when you went to go buy the paint. Check this out. I don't know if you know this. This is amazing. So there's a chemical in the bonding of the paint that is called purpling. Mm-hmm. And you can look up the color, the chemical. Purpling is what gives you that effect that changes the color from green to purple to blue to all the other colors that it would change with different lighting. What's amazing about this, and this is something I had to learn the hard way, was purpling, believe it or not, is the same chemical that the Federal Reserve uses as of right now and has been using for a while now. You know, on the $100 bill, when you
oh yeah,
flex it and it makes that, okay, guess what? That's purpling.
Oh, interesting.
So check this out. Because of that chemical, if anybody could get their hands on that chemical, guess what they could make? If you know how to make counterfeit money, all you would need to really make it, let's say 90% almost real, would be the purpling.
Interesting.
So what they do is that they limit companies, manufacturers, or anybody that's ordering this paint. Check this out. The car, first of all, you have to show proof of ownership. Then your body shop has to show proof that it is your car and that they're working on it, and how much of the car they're going to paint.
Wow.
And you're only allowed to order the amount of paint exactly that you needed, like by the pint. If the body shop ordered too much or too little, not too little, but if they ordered too much, they would have to legally return it back to House of Colors.
Oh, man.
And if you didn't, they would report you. It was fucking crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a nice little lesson learned about but cool car fact, whatever, one of those things.
Yeah.
But awesome, John. So let me go along this next thing, which I think, again, the next topic that we kind of covered. So where your car love and passion started, and all the cars you've owned since the car that you have now, which is the Gen 2 Viper, because we didn't really cover that.
Yeah, so my passion and love for cars came from my dad. He was always into cars, and we started out with hot rods and stuff. So as soon as I could walk and stuff, I was out in the shop with him, wrenching and stuff like that. And so technically my first car I got when I was 2 years old. So my dad had brought
2 years old.
Yeah, right? Unbelievable. So my dad brought home a 1954 Chevy that he was going to part out.
Okay.
And at 2, fell in love with the car and claimed it. And so my mom told him he couldn't sell that car. And so he was
going to go to you when you were, big enough to drive it.
Yep. And so we kept that car, and it ended up not being my actual first car, because by the time I was getting close to the age to have my license, the amount of work required to do that 54 was just going to be too much just to get started for me driving for my first car. So we started looking for something else, and that's how I got my 72 Challenger that I still have.
Oh shit! That's awesome. I didn't know you had a 72 Challenger.
72 Challenger. So it's sitting on the lift right now in my garage, and so I've had that car for 23 years.
Wow, that's awesome, dude.
We bought it from my neighbor for $100.
What?
Yeah.
A whole car, just the chassis?
The whole car.
$100?
$100.
What was he blind? He just didn't see what the fuck was going on?
It had been sitting in his yard for decades, and it had a lot of rust in it. It needed a lot of work, but we were looking at it, and my dad was a big Chevy guy, And so here I am looking at this Mopar, and we figured for $100, what the hell?
Yeah.
And we did. We spent a year and a half going through and getting it roadworthy, and I used that as my first car driving back and forth to school and to work.
Dude,
and
that's
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah,
Dude, but 100. How much rust are we talking about, John? I mean, we're talking
we ended
about
up
like.
we ended up buying a second body because the rust was so bad.
Okay, so that's how. Okay, so that's yeah.
It was. I mean, it was a complete car, but it was a rust bucket. I mean,
Right.
it was bad.
Right.
So we bought it. We found 6 months later, we found another body of a 72, and we between the two cars, we made one good car.
Wow. And what type of time frame are we talking about here?
So we did the initial. So I got it 97. I got my license. It was about a year and a half process to go through working on the car, getting it to the point where I could to drive it on a regular basis.
That's pretty quick. I mean, that's not slow, but it's not. I mean, excuse me. It's not fast, but it's not slow. Sometimes those projects project of that size could usually take a couple years.
Easy, yeah. And so I just loved it, and we go to car shows all the time, doing all sorts of hot rod stuff and whatever. And then as I got older and got exposed to more and more cars, started going to more racing events and started going to like cars and coffee events, and it just exploded. And now it's almost anything automotive related I'll go and do.
Right. That's awesome, dude. That's really cool. And so is your dad still around?
Yes. Yep. Dad's still around.
Oh,
He's currently got a 57 Chevy Nomad and an SRT4 Neon. We both have SRT4 Neon, so that's great.
Well, wait a minute. Why do you guys have Neon? What? How do you go from a 72 Challenger to Dodge Vipers to Neon? What's going on there? Is that the daily that you know?
So back in 2004, I was needing a car to commute in, and so the SRT4 had come out, and I bought one brand new back in 04, and just loved the car. I turbocharged 2.4 liter with a limited slip differential, front wheel drive, and the car was a blast.
Oh yeah, for
it
sure.
got me 30 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, there were huge cars down here. I mean, they exploded. The SRT4 was really that little car that no one ever saw coming, and then it just exploded. Everybody had one here.
Yep, it's nuts. And so I totaled the first one, unfortunately, in a bad rainstorm. Bought a second one, had it for a few years, and then sold it when I graduated college and moved to Silicon Valley because it was just really expensive to live in Silicon Valley.
Right.
And so I'd sold that one, and then a few years ago, it was about a little over 3 years ago, I bought another one that was almost identical to my first one that I had wrecked.
So you've had that one ever since?
I've had that one ever since, yeah.
Dude, that's great. So you use that as your daily? That's your daily?
It's one of my two dailies.
Okay.
Because right now it's a 125-mile commute to the office.
Yeah.
And so when I moved and started having that commute, I was like, all right, I need to get an actual practical car.
Right.
So I bought a 92 Honda Civic hatchback with a 5-speed that gets 40 miles to the gallon.
Yeah. Awesome.
And so that's what my main commuter is, and now it's got 350,000 miles on it.
And you've done nothing but oil changes on it. It's still running.
It's still running like a champ.
Yeah, that's what they're good for. That's exactly what. That's the definition of what the Honda as a manufacturer. That's exactly what they always want it to be. They want it to be the most reliable car ever made, and they kind of, if you think about it, they've affected the entire manufacturing automobile world with that type of mindset. It's like, hey, cars are not supposed to be breaking down and giving you maintenance problems. You should be able to put oil in them, and as long as you do oil changes regularly, at least 3,000 miles, you're good to go. You shouldn't have to have things breaking on you left and right. So
exactly,
that's awesome. And the little SRT4, I got a couple of stories. I had a good friend of mine. He'll enjoy this. I'll send this podcast to him. He'll really enjoy this. His name was Christian, and Christian was a good friend of mine. He's from Brazil. We were good racing buddies, and he had a little yellow SRT4 Neon.
Yep.
And holy shit, that little car, man. I mean, he had most of the bolt-ons that were out at the time. He had the upgraded turbo. I think he had not upgraded turbo. He had the stock turbo. He had one of the from what he had told me, he said he had one of the fastest, and that's what a lot of these guys were claiming. They were all having one of the fastest stock turboed SRT4, neons that did not have a turbo upgrade that I think he had a upgraded wastegate, upgraded blow valve, maybe not even that. He had the
Hmm.
bolt-ons, just good exhaust system, free-flowing exhaust system. I think it was a full. He had a full exhaust, but it wasn't straight pipe. He had I think he had the cats still on his exhaust. And that little shit, man, he used to give me. I mean, he gave me a couple times, from the hole and stuff like that. He would usually because he just had his race was just he had it down pat. Like his race was either from the light to 120, 110, and from 35 to 40 all the way to 130, 140.
Hmm.
And dude, he used to power shift every fucking gear. I mean, I used to make jokes about like, dude, you could power shift this in reverse. Let's just make a video of you doing power shifting in reverse. Like, what the fuck? What's left?
Right.
He was really fun. He really, I mean, every shift it was always power shift. It was funny because I used to make a joke about him, like, dude, you sound like an automatic. And he used to laugh every time because every time he I don't think I've ever I every time we used to go racing, he never would miss a gear ever.
Wow.
I never saw him miss a gear. It was amazing. So, and we had a lot of fun with the car. We raced a lot of really quick cars that he should have lost to, and we beat.
Nice.
So good friend of mine, and yeah, he's back in Brazil now, and I'm gonna send him this podcast. He's gonna love that. It's like, dude, you mentioned he's gonna be laughing, but me and my Cobra, when I got my Cobra, obviously when I started, but I'll tell you this, because that was the battle of the times was you had the SRT4, you
Yeah.
had the Evo 7,
Yep.
you had also the Evo 8, you had the Terminator Cobras, you had
Yep.
the C5Z06,
Yep.
and this was just right at the beginning. The Dodge Challenger had not yet been announced
No.
around that time. It was just going to get announced, so the Challenger was not out. So this was like Dodge's little Frankenstein, little quick car that nobody even knew about.
It was the second fastest car in Dodge's lineup at the time. The
That's
Viper
right.
was the only one faster.
Yeah, and that was a Viper. So
Yeah.
granted, that's pretty crazy. And let me ask you something, because I always used to have this conversation, and it's been so long. So, because I used to always joke about this, but I don't think it was. I think because there was a shared. Okay, so the engine, from what I remember, was it the same engine that was in the Diamond Star, the DSM Eclipses? Because a lot of people
No.
were saying that it was, and then
Yes, the turbo was the same design as the Eclipse. The
okay,
engine, I think, came from the Stratus. It was a
from the
Chrysler
Stratus, that's right.
engine, but I think it was a Mitsubishi turbo.
It was. But it didn't. Are you sure that I think the head was maybe even the same in the intake manifold, because they look so similar, but maybe it was just everybody, it's one of those rumors that got out and people were talking shit. But it was, yeah, it was one of those things I used to always make fun of them. Like, dude, it's not even a real Dodge. It's fucking DSM, like, with a body of a neon. Like, but yeah, we had a lot of good times. And once we actually raced, I had a buddy of mine that had an S4, Audi S4, a B5 S4.
Oh,
Great
wow.
car. Cool
Yeah.
car. Fucking stripped to I mean, it was like what I'm talking about, weight reduction. This thing had a driver's seat. That
Wow.
was it. Like, he really went crazy with the weight savings,
Yeah.
weight reducing this car. And it was quick. The car had maybe 480, 470 horsepower, but it was fast.
Hmm.
And me and my friend with a Christian with the SRT4, and my friend, what's his name? The owner of the S4. Shit, I forgot his name. But we all went to Palm Beach International, which was at the time Rosso.
Yep.
And let me tell you, man, me and my friend Christian, we were giving a run for this guy's money. And remember, the S4, that thing had the Quattro system at the time, was even still today one of the best four-wheel drive systems on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
And he couldn't keep up. Like, he could not keep up. We averaged a speed of 140 from Miami to Moroso, which is about a distance of it's like 100 and something miles. So it was sick. Like, we were really hauling ass that day, and my friend Christian was there. I mean, we would, he wouldn't beat me and he wouldn't get in front of me, but he was keeping up.
Yeah.
So it was by far, it was a very little impressive car. It was a very cool little car that, and I don't know if you ever heard it down in California, but they were called Skittles.
Yes.
It was the Skittles car.
They call them Skittles out here too.
Because they came in every color you could think of, and it was
Oh, so
usually
many
it was,
colors.
yeah, and there was a pack of them. I actually have a video of me racing when I'll tell you this, when they got bigger turbos, they started putting down some serious numbers.
Serious numbers.
Yeah, that little 2.4, I think the fastest one I had heard of was 600 plus horsepower on the stock engine.
Yeah.
Stock internals. That was impressive.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was awesome. So any cars after that, John?
Oh, I've had probably 36 cars.
Oh, wow.
The years.
Okay.
All sorts. And I've had a couple of Cudas with 446 packs in them.
Nice.
A few darts. I even had a 79 Camaro with T-tops and an inline 6.
My God, that's a car to talk about right there.
Yeah.
But the Cudas.
The Cudas were great. And we did restorations on both of those. A 70 and a 71. The 70 was a 446 pack shaker hood, pistol grip, 4-speed, sublime green.
Nice.
Beautiful car. And then the 71 was a 446 pack, automatic, leather interior, power window car, and it was painted curious yellow. It was another one was beautiful.
Super bright yellow.
Super bright yellow.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about then.
Yep.
With the yellow.
Oh yeah. I also, before I got into VIPER, speaking of yellow, I had a 2002 Z06 Corvette in yellow.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then what was your experience? Well, that's pretty, so yeah, because you've been pretty hardcore Dodge, man. You've been kind of true to the Dodge family.
I've been a predominant Mopar guy. I've ventured out a few times, but for the most part, most of the cars that I've owned have been Chrysler products.
Right. So that's why the VIPER was that trophy, you know, like was just, I gotta get a VIPER.
Gotta get one.
That's awesome. And and so you sold all those cars, and right now you have the VIPER, the SRT8, well, your wife has the SRT, right? Or the Challenger, right?
Yep, she's got the Scat Pack 392.
Nice.
And then I've got the SRT4 Neon, the VIPER, my Challenger, and the Honda right now.
And that's her daily? She drives that car
daily? Her daily is Scat Pack 392, making almost 500 horsepower.
That's awesome. Have you guys done any mods to it? Any forced induction? Anything?
The only things that we've done to that one is a Mopar cold air intake and then a mid-muffler delete. Okay. Other than that, it's stock, and it's got, I think, like 105 or 106,000 miles on it.
Wow. So she's driven the shit out of it. Wow.
We drive the wheels off that thing. We bought it brand new in June of 2016, and we've racked up that many miles on it.
That's awesome. That means you're driving. That's perfect.
Yep.
Means it's a driving car. That's fantastic. Is it automatic or it's a manual?
Being the Charger, it's only available in the automatic.
Oh, it's a Charger. I'm sorry. I thought that was the Challenger.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
It's got the Charger.
Oh, so it's not a Charger. You know what that car is, right? You know what's underneath that car, right?
Yep.
It's a Mercedes 500.
It is.
It's an E500.
Yep.
It's an American-made Mercedes 500. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah, that was cool. That's awesome. Yeah, they've only made automatics. Oh, by the way, Sunday I just saw the new Hellcat Charger with the new one, like the 2020 Hellcat Charger. Dude, that thing is ridiculous. They brought the wheel wells out finally, like from the Hellcat series. And what they did with the front end, it really looks fucking badass now.
It looks so mean.
Oh yes, it looks very mean. I like what they did with the car. It's amazing. I remember when I first learned, because when I first saw the Charger, I was looking, I'm like, damn, and I know Chrysler being ran by basically being owned. Is it Chrysler? How's it? Chrysler is a subsidiary of Mercedes, or is it they share?
So Mercedes, Daimler owned Chrysler for a while, and they were with Mercedes, and then I think it was 2007, 2008 timeframe when the financial crisis hit.
Yes.
They sold it to a venture capital firm, Cerebus, I think it was, and they were talking about dismantling the company, and luckily that didn't happen, and now they're in a joint partnership with Fiat, and it's Fiat Chrysler Automobiles.
That's right. So they're still using obviously all the Chargers are still getting that. They're still probably purchasing the chassis from Mercedes.
Possibly. I'm not sure if when they switch, with the latest generation, if it's still the same underpinnings. I think it is.
I'm pretty sure it is, because what they did was write up a contract that even though the company separated, that they're still probably purchasing the chassis itself, because it's I mean it's still the same car, unless they somehow changed it. But that's awesome. That's fantastic, man. And so, any other really cool cars you can think of in the history?
Um, we had a 2008 Super B Charger,
Nice.
SRT8. We had that.
Those are
Uh,
rare.
yeah, they only made I think 1,000 of those.
Right.
Um,
And you sold it, or did you buy it to restore and then you sold it?
no, that one we sold that one. Um, we've had a few hot rods and stuff over the years, different years and stuff.
Right.
A lot of classic Mopars. Had a few Challengers. I had a plum crazy purple Challenger, 340 4-speed car with white interior. That was a cool car.
Nice. I love that color combo.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was one of probably only 100 built. Uh,
Wow.
that
And
one was a challenge too, because when I bought it, it had been in a nasty accident in the early 80s where someone had it looked like they'd hit a telephone pole doing almost 100 miles an hour.
Holy fuck.
And so I had to replace literally everything from the firewall forward.
Whoa. So that was a serious hit.
It was a serious hit.
That was a head-on collision with that pole. The
Yeah,
telephone.
it was nasty.
Damn. And the person, do you know if they survived or?
That I don't know.
'Cause that's a hard hit.
That was a hard hit.
So do you also do welding? You chop the
Yep.
car?
Yep.
Wow, man,
All
that's
over.
awesome.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever met a mechanical engineer that is so that you work with your hands. Most mechanical engineers are they're a little picky about that. They're like, no, I don't touch, I'm do the work myself. That's awesome. And so did you learn welding from your dad as well?
Yep. Learned welding from my dad, and then in high school, I'd also taken a welding class with one of my buddies,
Okay.
and so that helped further that along.
Very cool.
Yeah, most of the skills that I've learned from him over the years, and then trial and error.
Right. Yeah, a lot of playing around and just messing around with metal.
Yep.
Very cool. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm gonna say here. Let me go down and just make sure we didn't. Well, we kind of talked about that. One of my other topics was topic number 3 was what will you be using your Viper for? Will you be using it for any type of? And I mentioned drag racing, circuit racing, cars and coffee, street racing. But I think you kind of answered that. You said that you mainly use it for a lot of the cars and coffees, and obviously
Yep.
you being part of the Viper community. You were using it for those type of events, but not too much. Like I'm sure you have you drag raced it at all, or not really?
Haven't done any real track stuff with the 96. I've done a couple of track days with my old ACR that I did. It was definitely a little more. I'm not like my 96 isn't set up for
the brakes.
for
The brakes
but
is the major thing.
The brakes is the big thing.
Yeah.
But my '01 ACR, I mean, having the analog disc brakes, and then it had Penske adjustable coilovers on it. I mean, that car was
Nice.
dialed in for the track.
Nice.
And
how
so
did
that
car-
one I took to the track.
Yeah, that one was something. Did you do was it like amateur racing on the weekends, or was it?
It was mostly. It wasn't any official race series. It was mostly. I ran with a group called Hooked on Driving. They're predominantly
Hooked on
on
Driving.
the West
I
Coast.
know Hooked on Driving. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got hooked up with them, and so I go do their track days and stuff.
Awesome. And so you got some good. Were you taking it on the weekends, like every weekend, or is it whenever you had time? Obviously.
Whenever I had time, whenever a group of us wanted to go to do a track day or whatever, we'd get together and go out.
Awesome. And how did you feel when you got the car on the track? Did it feel you really were able to put the car through its paces and get the potential out of the car that it could put out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, being able to put it on the track and stuff in a safe, secure environment. We really were able to put that car through its paces. It was a blast.
Awesome. Very cool. And that was the AC, because the ACR they only made for 2 years.
So for the Gen 2s, they made it from 99 to 2002.
Right. Okay. So then, yeah, so basically, okay, cool. And then the fourth thing that I had come up with was, it kind of goes along the same thing we just talked about. If you will be modifying your Viper with any type of forced induction, any type of performance spots, that's actually one thing that we have yet to cover. So any plans at all?
So with the 96, it actually, when I bought it, it had a lot of the modifications that I'd wanted to do already done to it. So it had race headers installed, carb approved ones. The only carb approved headers for the Viper from Edelbrock. So those are on there with high flow caps and a Borla race exhaust system. and
Nice.
then 355 gears, and then had some other engine work done. I was told it was making about 550 horsepower, where the stock was making 450, so pretty
100
sizable
horsepower.
increase in power.
Yeah.
So there's probably a little things here and there I want to do to it. I don't think I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to go forced induction. I've got some friends that have got some that are forced induction done to them, and it sure sounds like a lot of fun, but at the same time, that's a lot of power to try and put down.
Yes. Have you seen Calvo's what they've been doing with their twin turbo kits?
A guy just got his back from Calvo. I think it's making like 1,400 horsepower,
Yeah.
and he replaced the transmission with a sequential.
Yeah. And that's on the low end.
Yeah.
That's not even like they have a kit for 2,000.
Yep. Calvo's insane.
It's fucking amazing. It's basically it's underground racing for Vipers is what I call it.
Exactly.
It's sick. So no forced induction, huh?
No, well, I've thought about it a few times, and I not on this one. I think if I got another one, maybe. But right. I think this one being the 96, being the first year of production for the second generation car, right. I think I'll leave this one alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't blame you for that. Yeah, I mean, there was I remember when I was growing up, and there was one guy that he was one of the first people. It wasn't. I'm trying to remember his name. There was one guy that went pretty famous on YouTube, and this is again like more than 10 years ago, before people were going like crazy as hell with cars and twin turbo kits and street racing and all that. With a Viper, it was a blue Viper, had a twin turbo kit system. I get from what I remember, I think the guy. I think it was something done through Hefner Performance
because they had Hefner was the big time for a while.
Yeah, because they had just done something with a 4GT or before they did the 4GT twin turbo kit, and this was I think one of the first cars they did with the Gen 2 Viper, and that fucking thing, man.
Oh, I thought
it was like 1,200 horsepower back then. Was like holy shit,
I remember
even now. Yeah, remember there was a video of him racing a couple bikes. It was like a Busa, and he was smoking shit out of it. It was amazing. So I'm like, okay, I want a Viper now, even more than ever. But yeah. So your friend dude, we got to do something with that car. So he just got the car back he put a dog box. What did he do? A dog box with their stage 1, I think, is 1,200 horsepower or 1,400 horsepower.
I don't remember all the details. I think the dyno was showing I think it was around 1,400 at the wheels.
God damn.
Yeah, and he got the car back, and I think he had damaged second gear, I want to say, and so he ripped out the stock transmission, had a sequential installed, and the car, from what I've seen so far online, it just screams.
It's from the company in Australia, right? That makes the sequential transmissions for Calvo.
I can't remember who it came from.
Yeah.
I think it is. Check. That's a possibility.
I think it is. There's a company out that Calvo's working with that makes these amazing, ridiculous, just sick, and I forgot the name of it. I'd have to look them up. It's been a while. But last time I looked up Calvo, they were joining forces with this company out in Australia that was doing the sequentials for him, and it is ridiculous. Because that's the biggest problem with these cars is that obviously the Viper having a manual, which is sick.
Right.
But when you have that much power, man, you need to, switching gears is like, it's a whole event.
It is. It really is. People really don't understand how much of an event that is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you really got to know what you're doing. Even then, like you said, he went through, he killed second gear on the car.
Yeah.
On the transmission. So that was that. And, might as well because I think what they do is that they use, I might be talking shit, but I think they take the stock transmission, they turn the kit, what they do is that they transform the manual transmission and they use the original transmission and turn it into a sequential. I think that's what they do, but I could be dead wrong, and I'm just smoking crack right now. That could be because from what I remember, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's that what they do is that they take the transmission, because the transmission that's in that car, which is the T6061, what is it? It's the same one that's in the C7Z06.
Yeah, the Tremec.
It's the Tremec T6061 though. Is it the C61? Hold on, I'm gonna kill myself here on this one. I'm stupid. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to misquote myself here, but I believe it's the Gen 5 Viper. Transmission. I believe it's the T60. Hold on, let me put T60. Yeah, it's the T6060, right? Let me see. Yeah, I'm sorry, TR6060. That's what it is.
Yep.
So that's for the 2013 Gen 5. So yeah, that's one of the best transmissions that Tremec has ever made, actually, and could
Yeah.
really
It's brilliant.
take a beating. So yeah, I mean, 1200 horsepower. Look, it's no joke. I mean, you put some sticky tires, you put some Mickeys or Nitos, of course, you're going to probably go through second or third pretty quick.
Yep.
Um, and there was also something, since you mentioned SEMA, that was something I was going to mention when you mentioned SEMA, but I forgot to. And now that we talked about Australia again, I have to mention this. There was a company that's absolutely awesome, made one of the most coolest shifters of all time, period, for any manual transmission. It was for the T60 manual transmissions. It was for the Mustangs. It was for the same Tremec transmissions that were put in all these muscle cars and all these cars that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It was so cool. It was a transmission that when you bolted the shifter on your transmission, what it would do is that, okay, you know how a dog box transmission works, right? Up is down,
Yep.
down is up. Okay. Excuse me. Forward is downshift and back is upshift.
Yep.
What it did was that it bolted into a regular transmission, any regular transmission that had the 6-gated speeds. And what it would do is that it would convert that manual transmission into the dog box style of.
Yes.
It was
I
amazing.
saw that. Yep.
Oh, you saw it? Yes.
Yep. They had it there.
And I have to look that company up again to see finally, because they were supposedly in their prototype stage, but it was already a product that was done. They just had to do some marketing things, and then they were going to go back to Australia. I never found out if they finally started, but I looked them up the other day, and they were still around. So I think they just, who knows, they maybe just decided that they were going to go slow. But I wanted to become a dealer for them here in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to reach out to them to see what they've done, because that is just, I mean, one of the best ideas I've ever heard in my entire life as far as shifter goes. That's just it's the sickest thing in the world I've ever heard. Yeah. But I think, man, that is pretty much everything. This is one of the longest podcasts I've ever done, so I think we've covered it all, man.
We hit a lot.
That's the whole point of this, is to try to, go all in and put all the information out there. So I think we did that. So, yeah, I think we covered it all. We didn't miss anything. All the topics were covered. John, I want to thank you. This was super awesome, man. We definitely, this will not be our last conversation. I'd love to coordinate something with you, maybe when things start getting back to normal. Like I said, maybe a rally going from Miami to maybe Texas, and we could maybe meet at Texas 2K, because I've never done Texas 2K either, and I've been dying to go to Texas 2K. Or maybe we could do a rally from here to California and back, or you can meet us in Texas, or maybe I'll meet you in Vegas with my friend who, is the owner of that app that we talked about. Maybe we'll be there for that. So, maybe we can coordinate some stuff there. And then also for your YouTube channel, just so everybody remembers it, what was the name of it again? Just so we can put it out there.
Yeah, so the YouTube channel is Life at Speed.
Okay, very cool name as well.
Check that out.
Yes, we would definitely. I'm gonna go ahead and go, because I went through a whole bunch of the videos. I want to make sure I covered them all. So John, again, fantastic to meet you, man. Really cool. You're obviously a true car I can't talk anymore. A hardcore car guy, car enthusiast. Your love and passion has gone through the podcast, and it's fantastic that we got to meet the way we did. And I'm glad I reached out to you, because again, these podcasts are, you're the type of person that I want to have on this podcast. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that.
Well-spoken, very, you have obviously a history of a range of different cars, and obviously you've kind of kept close to Dodge, but have also had, like you said, the C7Z06. We should leave that for another podcast. We're going to talk about that. Mr. Dodge going to Chevy and then saying, no, I'm sorry, I'm going up and I'm getting a Viper. That's pretty awesome. But we can't talk shit about that car. That car's amazing. They're all amazing. All cars are amazing. They all have their advantages and disadvantages, and I think that's what being a car enthusiast is all about, is figuring out what those disadvantages and advantages are, and then whether, making a decision of whether you want to keep the car because you love it for what it's awesome about it, or you hate it for what you don't like about it yourself.
Exactly.
But what I'll do is, so, and then let me know maybe down the line if we want to do a live podcast with some of your, maybe your followers. We could do that as well. We do like a Q&A.
Oh, okay.
Which would be super cool, because I've been wanting to start to do like live ones that wouldn't be as long, maybe like 45 to an hour.
Okay.
30 minutes long.
Interested.
And And what else? I'm just trying to think. Oh, and I'd love for you to maybe somehow, if we can coordinate it, if you can come down for my next Cars and Coffee, excuse me, car. I really can't talk anymore. My brain is fried. My caffeine and gasoline car show that I have. It would be fantastic to maybe have you come down from California with a bunch of your members, the VIPER guys. That would be fantastic.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
We'll have to see if we can make that work.
For sure.
Sure.
Cool, man.
Cool, man.
All right, so I'm going to. Anything else that you want to mention? Maybe your Facebook page, so people can find you on there.
Facebook's a little more of a challenge, but Instagram, 72 Hemi, is you can find me on there. And thanks for the opportunity to be on here. It's been great chatting with you for the last 4 hours, and it definitely didn't even seem like 4 hours. The time just flew.
It never does, man. With us car guys or crazy car guys that we are, it just seems like a fluid conversation. That's
exactly.
That's the whole point. So cool, John. So dude, enjoy your night. Enjoy your week. Hopefully things are starting to get back to kind of normal in California.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Here in Miami, things are still kind of, I don't know, they're like in the middle. Things are kind of opening, but they're not. Parks are still not really fully open. So still waiting for, the green light on that. John, thank you so much again, man, and we will talk soon. And that's it. That was podcast number 7, guys. So we will see everybody on the next one.
Awesome.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it, man.
Yep. Thank you.